Okay, everyone, I'd like to call the Town of Rochester Town Board regular business meeting to order. So we're streaming. If you could all stand and I'll I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The roll call.
Councilman Alba, present. Councilman Coleman.
Here.
Councilman Smeesa. Here. Supervisor Allen.
I'm here. Okay, so we are working off of the agenda that there's two agenda documents. One is our regular agenda that was published, and then there's a red line version that has the amendments. I also took those out on the table for the public. So I would like to make a motion that the town board accepts the agenda as prepared by the town supervisor and including the amendments as presented.
Second.
I have an amendment.
Oh, sure.
For discussion item A, the RETT is for a housing fund, not an affordable housing fund. If we could fix that typo, please.
Okay. Okay, anything else? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Okay, the first item on our agenda is appointment of a town council member. I can go ahead and make the motion. Whereas the town of Rochester has a vacancy on the town board, and whereas the clerk received letters of interest from 5 candidates, and whereas the town of Rochester Town Board interviewed 3 candidates in a public meeting on February 23rd, 2025. And whereas pursuant to Town Law 64.5, the town board of the town of Rochester, by a majority vote thereof, has the authority to appoint a qualified person to fill the vacancy until December 31, 2025. And whereas pursuant to Town Law 64.5, the vacancy will be subject to an election to fill the unexpired term at the general election in 2025. And whereas Zolly Wynn has expressed interest in filling the vacancy and was one of the 3 candidates interviewed, now therefore be it resolved that the town of Rochester Town Board appoints Zolly Wynn to fill the vacancy, to fill the position of town council member for a term to expire December 31, 2025.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Call vote. Sure.
Councilman Alba.
Aye.
Councilman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Smeesa.
No.
Supervisor Allen.
Aye. Great, motion carries. So we can go ahead and do a swearing in. Right hand, repeat after me. I, Zolly Wynn,
I solemnly
do solemnly swear I'll support the Constitution of the United States
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and I'll faithfully discharge my duties
and will faithfully discharge my duties
as town council member
as town council member
according to my best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Welcome, Zolly. We have a blank name tag for you. I just wanted to say that we conducted really great interviews and we did have a really difficult decision, but welcome, Zolly. We look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
So our next item on the agenda is continuance of the public hearing for local law 2 of 2025, amending local law 6 of 2024. So this we held this public hearing open from March, from February 27th through today. So I'd like to go ahead and, open the floor for anyone who'd like to participate in the public hearing and issue comment. So this is for proposed local law 2 of 2025, amending local law 6 of 2024, amendments made to chapter 140 zoning due to errors and omissions. So we'll first see if there's anyone present who would like to make a comment. Is there anyone on Zoom that wanted to make a comment for proposed local law 2 of 2025? So I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
A second.
Any discussion?
I just had one document about aquifer protection zone town code timeline. Just gives a brief historicity of the changes to the code, just so we have a complete overview of the changes to complete that. So we can take a look at it and let me know later if you have questions.
Okay, anything else? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Okay, so next up, there was a journal entry error in QuickBooks, so I don't have the financial report for you, but I should have that uploaded tomorrow. And then I'll just give the financial report at our next meeting. Some of our revenue wasn't showing up, but it's in there. So we're tabling that, and then next is town reports. So I just wanted to give some updates from my office or just the supervisor's report. We have been, as the board knows, we signed a contract with Muni Collab to create a digital application platform for the planning board. We executed that agreement and have been working with them on getting all of our applications themselves and application materials into that platform. So that's been going really well. And the launch date for that is early April, so April 1st. So as of April 1st, we would be transitioning over to having all applications go through that system. So there'll be no more paper applications. The other thing that this will do is allow all the public to view application materials through that platform. The public does have to create a user account in order to do that, but there's nothing else associated with it. It just allows you to see those materials. So that's been going well. We've been having weekly progress meetings on Fridays. We also have 3 positions that we are soliciting applications for. These are staff positions. So we have positions available in the town constable department and are seeking qualified candidates for that so that we can get back to 100% staffing levels. We have a position in my office, clerk to the supervisor, that has been open. I've received lots of applications and have been going through those. And then we've also created a temporary clerk position in this building that will be primarily responsible for digitization of our records and maintaining some of that we haven't been able to do so far. So we are trying to time that. I'm timing that with Kate so that we will have an operational large format scanner in place early on in that position. So But we also have other things that that role could do to fill in. So I'm starting to review all of those applications and make some short lists of applicants. I received feedback, I've received several calls from the community regarding some large scale tire dumping that's happened on some local roads. And I think this is something that we should add to our priority items. I know that we think about making a lot of committees, and I could think of 6 committees that we could create, but I have been thinking about something to address some of the dumping in town, especially with tires, because the disposal of them is quite expensive, but it's also a very frequent type of dumping that happens here. So that I think I've heard it was about 50 tires that were dumped on a particular road in a particular water body. So, the other update I have is that we are, one of our big priority items this year was, to improve some of our community park resources. So we have the RFB for the bathroom on the agenda tonight. Our next thing that we'll be writing a bid for will be the playground equipment that we're going to install in behind here, and site improvements. So Charlotte and I and our recreation director and assistant recreation director are the committee. And we will be meeting next week to draw up a project timeline and start getting the bid timeline together for that. So just wanted to update you on that. Then I also have I'm getting a lot of grant opportunities. I wish I had time to start going through them, but some of them do seem like they are really relevant to some of the work that we're doing. So I'm starting to collect grant opportunities in the shared Dropbox folder. So it'd be great to have the board take a look at that, or maybe if someone wants to sort of take the initiative on at least identifying opportunities that we want to apply for, because I feel like we should move on some of these funding opportunities while we can. We also, I continue to have, I have weekly department meetings with all departments. We continue to have those. We have been having some staffing challenges, but we seem to have started to move through those, and are starting to make some of the equipment improvements that we had planned for in the budget, furniture, office redo. And so we're seeing some of the progress. If anyone has any questions about any of that, just feel free to ask. And then my other update is at the end of the agenda. I'm going to bring this up, but we have some pretty big building issues that we need to prioritize this year. So that's one kind of big thing that's been coming up in all the department meetings. And I think we have, I don't have any additional Bridge New York updates other than the timeline that I submitted at our last business meeting. So we can move on. Kate, thanks for joining us tonight. Do you have a town clerk text clip to review?
For the month of February for town clerk, $41,622 were collected. I just want to remind everybody, the New York State burn ban was actually put in place early, and that will remain in place until May 15th at this point. We did have a liquor license filed for Ravenwood Farm at 579 Sampsonville Road. As far as tax collection, to date, $6,998,755 has been collected. The warrant has been satisfied with the town supervisor in $3,400,468. $2,767,864 has been turned over to the Department of Finance, with a balance due of $3 million. I was going to ask the board if I can have some time put aside at the workshop meeting regarding records management. I did receive a quote, for a scanner. I'm also trying to get a quote for leasing and seeing if that might be a better option for us, since we realized that the other scanner, age did play a role in, the software. So I want to weigh those options. I'm also going to get a price of what it would cost to outsource the mapping as well, to see if it might benefit us better that way. So those are some figures that I hope to have by the end of this month back to the board. And just briefly, I just want to thank everyone in the community for their very kind words during this time. I don't think I could say much more, but I really do appreciate all those that have reached out to myself and my family and have really helped through the last couple of weeks. So I truly appreciate that. So thank you.
Can we announce the event? Sure. So on the 29th, at the community center, there'll be a, public celebration of life for Carol Denon. That'll be at 10:30. Yes, 10:30 to 12, light refreshments. And then, there'll be a potluck luncheon at the Tilson Legion, following that. So that's the community event is open to the public. So our next agenda item, I don't have anything from the highway department to report. Other than, I think they want to buy 2 trucks next year, so that's something that we have to work on, seeing if we can do during our 2026 budget process. We are tabling, we had invited the code enforcement office to the meeting, but due to a change in circumstances, they'll be here on the 27th. Constable Miller submitted the constabulary report to the board earlier. I forgot to print that out. Does anyone happen to have that up? I don't have any other department reports, so I thought I could just do this one. I've got it here. So the constabulary answered 17 direct calls for service. These included 11 neighbor-to-neighbor and quality of life complaints, 3 resident traffic complaints. That's voicemail Dunn Farm Road, Lower Whitfield and Sampsonville Road, 2 environmental complaints, 0 new building department violations, 0 new court cases, 9 court proceedings, and 0 court proceedings closed. February was a busy month due to weather conditions. There were many motors off the road or stuck on town roads. There were several town elder residents who needed assistance. The constables assisted the New York State Police and Ulster County Sheriff's Office with the investigation into the armed robbery that occurred at the Stewart Shop. Short-term rental properties continue to generate many complaints, especially on holidays, Fridays, and weekends, including trespasses, garbage dumping, driveway blockages, and noise. We are still experiencing an increase in vehicles and individuals being within the town park long after dark. Neighbor-to-neighbor complaints have again increased this month and have been diffused without further action necessary. So as the weather warms, it definitely gets a lot busier. So that's one of the reasons we're trying to have full staffing levels in that department. So next up, we're a little early on our agenda, which is good. I'd like to invite legislator Chris Hewitt to join us. And I'm also going to turn on the rest of the lights and close the door. I just realized it's starting to get chilly. Thank you. Chris, thanks for being here. How's the year going so far?
In my third year in the legislature, and I'm just learning how to be more. There's no guidebook that tells legislators how to be very effective, and nobody tells you where the money is. Even though there's $440 million in our county budget, legislators have to take time in order to learn how to be effective. And my goal is to build bipartisan relationships that help us be effective over time as a county. And so a few things that I helped create are the ARPA funding of $2 million that the town of Rochester got, I think, 2 rounds of. We were hoping to create a 3rd round, but there was issues with the contracts and getting checks out to all of the towns because of the 34 million that we had to spend very quickly. And so some of the money was sent back as lost revenue, and the county is now able to use that amount of money for more flexible spending. So new programs are being created, like a new $750,000 food security funding, the $5 million EMS support that we've been talking about. That was, I'm deputy chair of law enforcement and public safety and the chair of energy, environment, and sustainability. Last week I chaired law enforcement, and we postponed the EMS funding of $5 million because it became clear that it just needed a little bit more work to be sustainable for annual funding that can really help EMS departments. So it was postponed while legislator Jason Kovacs talks to the emergency management department to work out some of the kinks and make sure the executive branch can support it. Because if a legislator pushes an idea through and it passes by 1 vote, it just has trouble taking off over time. For example, I fought really hard to get a full-time parks director created last year in the budget, and the county had the money for a full-time parks director at $85,000 salary. But because the executive branch didn't have complete buy-in, they never hired the person. So I worked hard. I tried to urge them to hire that person, and because they didn't have the will to do it, they didn't hire the person. But it taught me to slow down and create more effective positions and resolutions. So over the whole last year, we changed that position to be an arts, culture, and open spaces director. And County Executive Metzger and her team really liked that idea. So they put out, they've finalized the job description, and the open spaces in that job is as important as the arts and culture. So, you know, as an example, the Accord Park here could have art installations that are supported by the arts, culture, and open spaces director and the county department in order to have arts installations around the county, a focus on culture and a focus on the people who live in our towns. So I think it's an exciting position that might lead to a department. There's many studies that have shown that Southern Ulster needs a park to attract people. And I've been working hard on getting the attention of the Department of Corrections for the Colony Farm project, which is in my district because I have a small piece of Napanook. And Colony Farm has also been called in many studies the Shawangunk Catskill Corridor Connector, because it's 110 acres that can connect the Catskill Park to the Shawangunks and make this region very attractive for tourism. But we also have to beware of tourism because it can drive people out and drive up home prices. So I'm happy that we have a tourism director, Lisa Berger, who's talking about sustainable tourism and not becoming the next Reno, Nevada, or somewhere that's so overrun with tourists that it destroys our small towns. So I think Lisa's doing a great job of balancing tourism, marketing. The nature bus is an example of how we can attract outside people, but also pick up here in our towns and help have our residents experience nature as well. So I got 4 of my 8 budget amendments passed last December. And that's an example of what I mean about learning how to use the money over time. What I found is it's effective to create budget amendments in the county budget. Many legislators, we can see this book that's this thick. It's a huge budget of 440 million. And each, like we do here, when I was on the town board, we would get the department head recommendations, and then the town board finalizes the budget. We do the same when we get the executive budget, and we could just say this looks amazing, or we can make some suggestions and adjustments. So the 4 budget amendments that, well, first I had a law passed in December that I worked for 10 months on, because at first I realized it would only just pass by a slight margin. And when it passed in December, it was 21 out of 23 legislators said that. That law requires, how much time do I have?
I think
Okay.
We're still
Where are we,
15
John?
minutes before when you.
I gave you
start.
15 minutes and you're fine.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So in December, we passed a law that requires the consideration of hemp insulation in any county capital project. So the Government Operations Center is a huge, very expensive project in New Paltz that will help EMS and 911 services be more effective and have one location for many services. But when they spend that much money, they'll be required to consider hemp insulation, which are bats or concrete. And they're just as effective as petroleum-based or fiberglass-based installations. What that does is it builds demand for our local farmers to be growing industrial hemp as a field crop. Industrial hemp as a field crop is just starting to surpass the profitability of straw. And so when we start thinking of hemp as a field crop, we can also start thinking about our farmers succeeding, our main streets coming back to life. We can have decorticators and other machines that process industrial hemp into hundreds of products. I call it the 3 F's: food, fiber, and fuel. All of these things can come from one plant, and for 80 years, it was prohibited to use. And so that prohibition has made it confusing and difficult for farmers to work with it, especially when CBD created a glut of the plant being grown, and then too much biomass and too much money was lost during that process. So farmers are likening CBD to industrial hemp. It is cannabis sativa. It's the same genetics, but what Cornell University is promoting is a very unique strain from India that grows 12 to 15 feet tall, and it doesn't start branching until it's tall. So that means the whole stem could be used for fibers, clothing, paper, cardboard, veggie diesels. And so I think that now is the time that in New York State where we build demand, because the governor and ag and markets are starting to spend significant funding on this plant. And that plant used to make our main streets thrive, because we can make local paper, local foods, local foods. So because of that confusion and the Reefer Madness movement that created the confusion, I created a budget amendment of $25,000 that the Economic Development Department has this year to do research and education around industrial hemp, and working with farmers and Cornell Cooperative to do surveys about perceptions around whether or not it's a viable, if it's a viable field crop for farmers. So that 25,000 will help with maybe a conference or a way to get out positive messages. I created a $75,000 budget amendment for legal defense for immigrants, which is something our farmers need to consider. Also, our Ukrainian neighbors, people who need free legal defense. Now there's a fund in the Human Rights Department to provide legal defense. And that was originally going to Department of Social Services, but we shifted it to Human Rights because they have more staff and flexibility to make sure it happens. DSS is huge and they have a lot of responsibilities. I created a $25,000 budget amendment for zero waste trainings for events. The Garlic Festival in Saugerties is an example of how an event can be almost completely zero waste. You just have to stand near the garbage the whole time. And that takes a lot of labor, because you have to be like, no, that's compost, this is plastic, this is landfill. So we've created a $25,000 fund to contract with a local company to train people how to show up to, let's say, the Ulster County Fair, or even Arrowwood, or someone who can hire this crew to come and stand by the garbages, and this pays for the labor and the training to do that. The fourth one was very exciting because it created 2 full-time bus stewards for the UCAT system. 2 years ago, we made the bus system free, and ridership has more than doubled. And it's coming at a time where also people are choosing to walk and bicycle more, and wish that public transit actually was functional and effective. And so one thing that's not effective is that sometimes you go on the bus and it's dirty, or it smells bad, or there's conflict. The bus drivers are overwhelmed. And so these bus stewards, there's 2 full-time with benefits, state pension, and all the benefits that come with a county job. Where they give out schedules, they help load bikes, they help load bags, and they make sure the driver is not distracted. So those 2 full-time bus stewards are just the first step toward improving our UCAT system. I'm also working a lot on microtransit solutions, because a lot of times the executive thinks of transit and all they think about is buses. But there's walkability, bikeability, pedicabs, all of the steps that lead up to the bus system, I think need to be improved. According to Huntsman, are an amazing example of how two main streets could be connected by micro trains. If there was, I call them rickshaws, but many people call them bicycle pedicabs. I just got a grant for my restaurant in Kingston to have 2 bicycle rickshaws delivering food. On our free days, they're going to deliver food and pick up small trips on the bike lanes on Broadway. So we just want to have rickshaws in our communities, start to see them. If Cohasset and Accord were somehow connected more, it would build economic vitality between the two towns. So I think that by focusing on these types of budget amendments, I also introduced 4 more that didn't pass. My favorite one was the one that failed 2 yeses to 21 noes. Because it really was not ready. This was me saying, I have this awesome idea, I brought it to the floor, and it failed miserably. And that was to create a feasibility study, a $100,000 feasibility study with an engineering or architecture firm to study the feasibility of a light rail line from Kingston to Port Jervis. Bringing back all the old train stations from Kingston all the way to Port Jervis, Wurtsboro, Port Bend, Cohasset, Accord, High Falls, Stone Ridge. It would bring back the vitality of a walkable Main Street to all of these towns. The reason it failed so miserably is there's no federal support for something like that. So to start moving money in that direction too soon, I think that's our future. We're going to be connected again by trains, trolleys, horses, bicycles, ways that help us see each other as community members instead of whisking by on highways that go 60 miles per hour. I grew up on Long Island where I watched towns destroyed very, very quickly. And one of my first jobs after college was fighting highway expansions and promoting bicycle and pedestrian safety. So I think that highways, especially expanding highways, are a thing of the past. But we have Route 17 about to become a multi-billion-dollar project of expansion near Wurtsboro, while in Albany, they're disassembling 787 because they want to open up the waterfront. So the Department of Transportation is conflicted because they can make billions of dollars on certain projects. But at the same time, when you want to open up the waterfront in Albany, I think that's the future of our transportation. So I introduced something crazy, and I could just imagine a light rail line coming through our towns that have a rail component with a very quiet car coming by that can whisk us to Kingston. We can have a drink in Kingston, come home, and your designated driver can drive home. And 3 other budget amendments that I don't have to get into, but it's more along the lines of what I've been talking about. I also recently was happy to help get Climate Smart moving with you, Erin. Thank you. But I'm not going to be joining that committee because I could be more effective as the chair of Energy, Environment, and Sustainability. The former chair, Amanda Jo Green, she's still a legislator, and she's very passionate about Climate Smart. So we want to have a focus on Climate Smart schools and helping us get Brown certified. So I think that one example of a park that we started talking about in an open space was the Watershed Nature Preserve. I know it will benefit from community input and taking our time. But when we have an arts, culture, and open spaces director, that person can help us benefit with signage, wayfinding, marketing, ways to promote our town. And let's say we needed some signage about flora or fauna for our parks. We can work with the county to get funding to support the way we promote our parks and the way we talk about our parks. So happy to work with you all and create bipartisan solutions to how we can improve our county.
I have a couple questions. Any board members have any questions or comments for?
I do. With federal and presumably state budget cuts, has the county started discussing the impact of those and what steps they might take to collectively mitigate those funding shortfalls?
Yeah, the county executive started meeting with each department head to make backup plans for major cuts. And so from the sheriff's department to DSS to probation, everyone's talking about what would happen if we lost this amount of federal funding. And in many of the resolutions we're passing recently, I asked the department heads, will this hurt if the federal government pulls this funding? And so they actually are making a backup plan.
Do you have an estimate of what percentage of the $450 million county budget comes from better sources.
Yeah, Comptroller Gallagher released a report about that recently, and it was very significant, like 80 million or more of the budget. Yeah. But I think that, that's why.
So that's social services.
Yes. a lot of it. I think that's why the executive is reluctant to use the reserves that we have for certain things, like the EMS program. I think Legislator Kovacs made a great point. The reserves we have are for emergencies. Our EMS's needs are an emergency. I agree with that. But if we keep having ideas and try to cut into the reserves, then it could be dangerous. So I think County Executive Metzger is smart not to spend them too quickly. They're very uncertain, right?
As a follow-up to that, Climate Smarts Committee is wondering if, you know, as we go towards bronze certification, that funding is pretty secure. You don't anticipate any clawbacks and grants like that.
I think because it's state
State.
funded, that we'll still have the political will. Mhm. And I think because we're so close with our certification, we'll probably get bronze certified, I hope relatively quick, but you would know better. Okay.
I have a couple questions.
Great.
Sorry.
I love questions.
Yeah, I'm gonna play a little hardball with you, I'm
I
sorry.
love hardball.
Okay, one, do you know how many UCAT lines or UCAT routes we have?
There's about 5 or 6.
Only 2 of them, so like a third have the
The stewards.
stewards, yeah, that's right. Steward.
I tried to get 4, but it was whittled down to 2.
Mhm. I'm curious, with working with UCAT and advocating for that. If you know of, or if there's a reason why on the county executive's new UCAT line that was inspired by the nature bus to pick up seniors or people who need medical rides. That only Ellenville and Warsing were chosen and not town of Rochester, when we're actually more rural than both of those two.
Good question. I think the route optimization study was putting something good in and removing something else.
Yeah.
And so I was actually doing some of the feedback, and when you try to optimize one route, another route gets worse. And there was like slidey bars where you can take the route and move it here. But if you move the route here, then they take away Sunday service here, for example. I think that town of Rochester is the perfect spot to stop for the nature bus, and they may have chosen Warsing and Ellenville for Sam's Point and the access to Minnewaska.
I don't mean the nature bus,
It's
for
in
the medical need a ride bus that the legislator, there's 2 buses.
Mhm.
That county exec, Ken Metzger. Is funded this year.
Yeah.
And they're only going to Ellenville and Warsing to help. Guarantee rides to medical appointments for seniors. I'm
Mhm.
just curious. We seem to be left out of a lot of programs.
Yeah.
I think we were left out of the second round of +1 ADU because we don't have water and for other reasons, and. It seems like we're not getting a lot of aid down here when. There's such a high poverty rate and such a high disability and veteran. And homeless rate in our elementary school students, so
Yeah. Yeah,
I was
well,
wondering how do
great
we
question.
get that down here? Because it seems like other communities are getting it.
we hear a lot of complaints about Southern Ulster not being served well, especially further south than us. So anytime you hear that, just let me know and I'll raise an alarm. Because I don't get to get the details on each bus route or if we're lacking something. So anytime you hear, please let me know.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah.
Next question. So for, just couldn't find it. You said it was 75,000 that you guys invested, that you hope to get invested into immigrant defenses. Is there any prospect of more funding going into that in light of recent federal policies going on?
I hope so. Before I thought of it, that there wasn't really a fund like this, and so it was. I think it was 15 to 8 in favor. So there was definitely a lot of support for it, and the executive embraced it as a great idea. So I think we can get more next year.
Does that program work with UIDN?
It's putting out a bid, and I know UIDN is interested in the bid, but there's about 4 different places that have called me but I tell them to call the Human Rights Department
Well, great.
because they're the ones writing the bid now.
Okay, my last question, what are you doing for housing?
Great question. I'm excited about the $15 million annual housing action fund. It's allowing us to have 15 million every year. And the occupancy tax is now going toward replenishing that fund. Last year, 4 projects were funded through that $15 million, and the county was hoping to fund more projects, but there wasn't enough shovel-ready projects. As soon as they're close to being ready, people can apply for that fund, and they have to guarantee a certain amount of what they build will be affordable. By the state's definition of affordable. So I'm very much in favor of the ADUs, and when I heard about the open plans that could be shared, it was actually the architecture renderings. You can share the plans for the ADUs. I don't think we can share those plans. Only certain towns can, but I have to find out for sure. At the beginning, it was only Kingston, and then Director
Right.
Doyle said it was opening up to other towns.
Yeah, they're
Yes.
opening those.
Yeah.
It's because of the type of the type of engineering approvals that they have, but
Cool. Yeah, so I think that ADUs are a great solution to our housing crisis and can help our families stay here longer. And so I'm, I think, highly supportive of that $15 million. And it took legislator Yushitown and others about 3 years to create that fund, because it's a significant amount of funding. And then we took a tax and put it toward that fund. And that took a lot of time.
and
Thank you.
thank you so much. The next round just opened.
Nice.
Yes.
Yes, Michael?
So regarding the EMS funds, my understanding of what was proposed was that was to be pulled out of reserve if there are reserves and funds could be made available to the towns. Do you know if that was for both BLS and ALS coverage? Was it only ALS?
I'm not sure.
And are there any discussions of that? Because the concern I had when looking at that was, it seems like the town could try and plan if there are additional reserves, that the funding could be available to help offset those costs.
Mhm.
If not, it's going to be on the towns to kind of make that difference. So has there been discussion about a more durable solution that's not contingent on additional sales tax or anything like that?
Mhm.
Where it's just the county is going to commit to ALS, and do you know any details on that?
I think that's why Director Erickson made a speech about it last week. Eric Erickson runs the Emergency Management Department. And that was a concern, is that if it's just a one-time shot, it can hit the departments with, just like the Paycheck Protection Program and the Employee Retention Credit, it created a cliff for certain businesses that now you have to deal with reality again. So we don't want to create that cliff. I think that Legislator Kovacs is meeting with Director Erickson throughout the month to make sure they address those kinds of things. Yeah.
Yeah, my main question, thanks everyone, these were really good questions, thanks for being here, Chris. The only other thing, I had 2 questions, is when you said you're on the emergency management, what committee are you on?
Law enforcement and public safety.
Law enforcement, are you connected to like the 911? Anything to do with that, or like, what's the scope of that?
Yeah, the law enforcement component is the jail, the sheriff's department. And then the public safety, also law enforcement is including district attorney, probation, public defender, and then public safety's office is protecting all 1,700 county employees. If there's an accident, if there's an insurance issue, it's really the public safety of county employees.
I see.
Yeah, and so there's a full department on that, and then a number of departments fall into law enforcement, including the prison, the budgets for the prison, for food, all the vehicles, the fleet, we cover all of that. There was recently a fleet review committee that I was on where we reviewed the hundreds of vehicles that are take-home vehicles.
So it's mostly like a financial and like personnel oversight committee?
Yes.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
got it.
because the staff, the task of the legislature is mostly fiduciary, and so we're passing resolutions and analyzing the laws that pertain to the law enforcement departments.
Okay.
And usually the department heads come and give us updates on each department.
Okay, thank you. I was gonna ask you about something else that I don't think it pertains to that. So I think, my main.
But I do want to say one thing I'm excited about is working with Sheriff Figueroa on creating a gardening program at the prison. Right now, the yard is just a teeny window and all cement, and so people don't experience nature at all. And so we're hoping to have a greenhouse with a gardening program. that teaches gardening skills for education post-prison.
I used to get a lot of vegetables from the Mackinac.
Also, nice.
Program.
Awesome.
Oh, Chris and Melody, your zero waste events training, just a lead for you, to contact Feed Hudson Valley. Because their volunteers already go to large events to do food reclamation, food waste reclamation, so it would probably be easy enough to train them to sort the garbage before they take the food back to people.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, so I have another question, which is on the resolution that we have on our agenda tonight, you had motioned to table that, to postpone that. And I was just curious, you know, we have a resolution of support for that. Is there anything that you would like the board to know about that resolution of support that you think would be important for us in terms of us passing the resolution? Like, I agree, I think, with that, you know, with the sentiment that we'd like to see more assistance for this issue, that it is an emergency issue, that we are now asking our taxpayers to take on a significant portion of the shortfall, but the writing is on the wall for, you know, the next 5 to 10 years. And, you know, we're looking for some longer term solutions. So, yeah, I'm just curious if you had any thoughts. Like, I don't think that this is like a harmful resolution, but I was just curious if there's anything.
Let's see the time. Yeah, I think that because of what legislator Kovacs is learning this month, what he puts in the updated resolution is gonna build a stronger long-term solution. That's why I recommend waiting a month.
Yeah.
I remember when we served together, we had issues with EMS and shared services, and I'm happy that legislator Kovacs has pushed the envelope rapidly and is asking for a solution. So I don't have the answers or know how to create a sustainable department, but I trust the leaders. That's why I recommended talking to Director Erickson. Director Erickson is running a large department that is challenging and crucial. And so without getting feedback from him, who's in the field day to day, I think it's not as strong as it could be. So that's the goal, is to help fund it and facilitate it over time. Right now, all I can do is be helpful and supportive.
Okay, great. Well, we appreciate that. And thanks for coming and answering this question.
Yeah, great to see you all. I wish I could be here more often.
Anytime.
What district is legislative?
He's
Or you can talk to town.
he's Socrates, part of Socrates.
But I knew he was in that one.
There's 3 years already. Yes.
Water and mountain.
Thank you.
Okay, great. So our next item on the agenda is the board and committee reports. I'll just have the same sort of schedule of reports in each meeting. So Alexis, if you want to get started.
Yeah, Climate Smart is a brand new committee focused on building out processing growing. So previous meeting was primarily focused on talking about process and how we're going to be handling new applicants. And I just want to verify we have 5 open seats.
It's a 11-member
Yeah.
board, yeah.
11 on
And so we appointed you actually, so there would be 4.
4. Okay. And continued discussion of Climate Smart Committee Bronze membership goals. Where the committee's looking at who's the primary source of guidance for that. If we need help on that, if we can reach out to BARD, that kind of thing. So we can maybe talk a little bit more about that at
Yeah.
some point.
Of course, yeah.
Okay. And then formally updating the contact list, because Chris won't be joining Climate Smart, but will be obviously available as a resource for us. And then also we're talking about possibly having like an informational membership distinction for honorary people where they just get information or email updates. Actually, that kind of pertains to all the committees, if there's a way to, non-voting. And that's something we could talk about in a process meeting. And also same thing about junior or school age members. Some committees have that where younger members can come in and get involved, and that would be really exciting for this committee. And then just generally interested in grant opportunities and interested in process for website content. And that's it for Climate Smart. Agricultural Committee. We had meeting and I met everybody. Happy to see Colleen reappointed. They would like to reappoint Samantha Ritter.
We did that.
We did, okay, like, I did that last one. All right. Also wondering about inclusion on the new webpage. Thankful for the launch of the new website. Also interested in working to manage and update content. Also interested in grant writing. Talking about Ulster County Farm Protection Plan, how that gels with our comprehensive plan and community preservation plan. And what are the practical differences in terms of policy ramifications between those documents? And we're in touch with Jeremy Baraka to go over ag assessments and inviting him to the next meeting to see how the assessments will impact farmland. That's ag committee. And then ECC. So I didn't bring a printout. We didn't get that in time for the monthly update, but just generally they had a guest speaker from Zero Waste Hurley on large scale composting project. Spoke with Ulster County Department of Environmental Updates, encouraging local comment that, like what Chris was talking about, they're also working with local restaurants to go plastic utensils free. So there's opportunity for waste initiative there. And then also where I'm excited to talk to Chris Hewitt more is working with Earth Day 25 Watershed Preserve event. So he offered support to help plan that and talk about public access plans for that. Plastic bag collection to resume first Saturday of every month. And desire to find a suitable speaker for First Nation controlled burn for the third Thursday presentation. Discussion of another pollinator garden, possibly near town property. Also interested in website content management and process around that, and still seeking new members. So we'll be talking more about how to process applications going forward. And also just generally the process for drafting letters to different boards in support of protecting environmental resources and questions about process for that. And that's update from my committees.
In terms of the website, I think if there's any ideas or needs, like the committees can just reach out directly and we can make sure.
Okay.
Like if they want to have more public facing content, we can just make pages and get that up.
Yeah.
It's probably easiest if they send me like a Word document and then I can just copy and paste, but
Okay.
yeah, we have a lot of things that we could put up and.
Would you prefer to have it as it trickles in or like wait and send you a big chunk?
Trickles in is totally fine. Yep.
Okay.
And it just, we have the policy, so it just has to be in accordance with the policy. Charlotte.
Right. So I'm gonna start with the easy one. The Community Preservation Fund Advisory Board has yet to be made. So that's their report. Next I'll do elder care. Elder care last month was mainly EMS calls to participants. A couple of welfare checks from relatives and bad weather questions, just checking in what the weather was like for if they hadn't heard, that type of thing, and a bit of snow shoveling, as reported by Constable Miller, who runs the program for us, and we thank him and the other constables for their time and doing the program. For the Housing Advisory Committee, they just met last night. I was with them for part of it. With HAC, the consultant for the housing site analysis. They have delivered back their report. for their analysis on the two corridors. It was a lot. It's a lot to digest, having just seen it last night. I'm waiting to get the official data, raw data and presentation so that I can just put it on the Dropbox for all of you guys to be able to check it out when you get a chance. Some really interesting things and how the property lists and parcels shut down and where they actually showed up on the map or not. So there's a lot of potential for some zoning changes potentially just out of this one portion of it before we get to the design charrette. That's gonna be the next step of it, which now our homework for the housing committee and for me in this project is going to be narrowing down both corridors to hopefully 1 to 2 potential options of parcels to do these designs on with an architect, with hack with pretty much going through most of the seeker before it options and seeing the plausibility and actually designing something with our committee that is a housing structure on the parcel. It may not be a property picked in the 2 corridors that we choose for the design. So that being said, if there are any in the 2 corridors, once you guys look, or any outside that like you're not feeling once you look at the data, feel free to let me know. We're gonna have a set end date for that. Once we hear back from Hack, they had to check our contract with the county on time frame. But we have a little bit of breathing room now in between the 2. So just depending on what the contract says, depends on where we have to set that deadline for that. They are very excited at the option for pursuing the RETT and just it reiterated their willingness to help in the process in whatever way they can and support. And I think that's about it. I hopped off the meeting at that point. I know they were going to talk about some other projects to do in the meantime while they were waiting to get that end date so that we can plan the next steps for the housing site analysis. But I know that they were also interested in going to do some homework on the state pro-housing community and requirements. So they might be working on that next week. And then Senior and Youth Recreation Commission. All right, so tomorrow is the annual St. Patrick's Day luncheon right here at the Harold Whitman Community Center. There are over 100 people signed up for the event this year. It should be a great time. The summer program registration will begin on Monday, March 31st at the Harold Whitman Community Center. Doors will open at 9 a.m. Registration forms will be posted on the town's website starting March 24th. The week prior. Just as a side note, I actually didn't put this. Registration is only in person that day for the summer program. It's quite the event. If you come here to the community center and you're doing other business, the line goes out the door and around the corner down to back out. For our summer program, it's quite popular and the girls do a great job. So fair warning, in person only, and be ready to stand in line when you show up with your applications filled out. Next, line dancing will begin again on April 2nd after taking a brief winter hiatus. It will take place every Wednesday at 11 a.m. here. The class is free and walk-ins are welcome. This basketball season will be coming to an end the last week of March. It's been a great season. Thanks to all who have dedicated their time to make this program successful. And just to reiterate, the event for Carol Denon, who just passed away, will be on the 29th from 10:30 to 12 here, and it is a potluck for a celebration of Carol Denon, who was our previous recreation department head, and as I like to call her, a nurturer and rearer of many generations of Rochester from this building. So that's all, folks.
I feel like we're getting a very good value out of a HAC. HAC. For the
Yeah,
award.
I
Is that right?
I don't know that the housing committee would agree, but I think that's
Oh,
because we have a
okay.
zoning mindset that we look at things from, like, I'm excited for the possibility of zoning out of it, and I think that they. Are still excited, but are probably like, how did it take this, you know?
Oh, I'm just
so,
thinking
yeah.
about, it was like $39,000 was supposed to be the award amount.
Mm.
And just seems like they've been working for a
They
long
have,
time on
there's
it.
a lot of
Yeah.
analysis, well, yes, there was. There were some delays, there's contracting delays
Oh,
that
okay.
happened, with it originally, but I think now, yeah, we finally. Got the momentum and got through the analysis to the point we needed to, but, I'm very excited for the design. Process, and I also may be coming back to you guys with a grant that I would like to pursue for us to put out an RFP. For an expansion on this project,
Mhm.
to get actual zoning recommendations. Written for us from HAC, that we could potentially put in, so. I'm gonna do some research, also I do have a bunch of grant research already for the town that I'm going to dump into the grant
Okay.
folder for you of ones that I've found that we're eligible for. Now I'm done, like.
We got 18 minutes.
Mhm.
Planning board continues to have a busy schedule. The last meeting, they had 9 applications on the agenda. One thing to highlight, there's a new cell tower being proposed on Granite Road. As part of that application, there's a requirement for what's known as a balloon test. So essentially, the applicant is required to fly balloons at the proposed height of the tower for about 4 hours so that people can gauge the potential visual impact of that. So that's currently scheduled for Friday, March 21st, 2025, and Saturday, March 22nd. Weather permitting, so obviously if there's high winds or anything like that, they postpone the test. The details of that notice are posted on the town website. Also, if you go to that notice, there's actually a link to a shared folder where residents, I know it was a heavily attended meeting when that project was discussed. Residents can go there and download more details about what's being proposed, which I think is a great addition, and I know it's something that Supervisor now and the board are interested in seeing more of, so I'm glad to hear that. We have Muni Collab coming online. It's going to be easier to get access to some of those documents. The ZBA, last meeting had 2 applicants. One was there to discuss the feasibility of a use variance for a particular project. And the second was there to appeal a decision by the code enforcement office regarding the property on the corner of Route 209 and Metacons Road. There's a public hearing scheduled for that latter application, scheduled for March 20th. Which is next week at the Howard Lifton Community Center at 6:30. And then another thing that's kind of come up in discussions with the board and just observations, there's obviously a lot of time commitment that these board members are involved in, both pre-meeting and during the actual meetings. I think the one that had 9 agenda items went until about 11:30. And so I think as a board, one thing we might want to look at is the stipends that we have for those positions, making sure that they're commensurate with the amount of time that people are putting in here, because I know that's it's a big commitment, and we obviously appreciate everything that they do, and I think find ways to make sure that they're compensated for their time. That'd be great. Ambulance Advisory Committee. So we have 4 candidates for the 2 boards. So good news. I think everyone on the committees is eager to have more help on that process. So we're looking to set up a time either next Wednesday or the following Wednesday when we can meet to interview those members. It sounds like everybody is able to do that from the committees. So it's just making sure that we can coordinate with the actual candidates. I've been reaching out to them. We have a few confirmations, but I'm going to lock down those times and we'll get those interviews done. So hopefully by the next meeting, we may have people that we can appoint to those boards. Town of Rochester Exchange. We're going to hopefully have our first meeting as a group next Tuesday, just waiting for confirmation from them to see if that works. I do want to remind people who are going to the exchange, either to drop off or take away things, that the volunteers are the ones who make the determination about whether something can be left at the exchange. Also, the transfer station employees may require that people pay to dispose of items, particularly larger ones, that they're planning to donate. The reason for that is if something gets taken and it needs to be thrown out, we don't want the taxpayers to have to ultimately pay for the cost of that disposal. So if you're asked to pay for something that you want to leave behind, that's the reason behind that. It's because somebody's got to pay for it if it ends up going into the bin and we have to dispose of it. And finally, I just want to remind people, if they're spending time at the exchange, please be aware that the transfer station is an active work site. Traffic's going to increase as the weather gets warmer, so if you're going to park, make sure that you're parking in the designated areas, not blocking the traffic lanes. And also, the transfer station employees are ultimately responsible for the safety and operation of the transfer station, so please cooperate with them and help them make sure that that gets done if you're going to the site to pick up or leave things behind. And that is it. Under 18 minutes.
Thank you. Do we have the historic preservation?
I do. Last month, the HPC toured a historic stone house located at 203 Sampsonville Road. That will be going on the market in the next few months. They are hoping for June to do their Whitfield Hamlet Talk series. If anybody hasn't attended those, they are a great 2-hour session, and a lot of it is family lore stories, growing up in the hamlets of the town. Very unique, and they're fun to listen to. And so I encourage anybody that hasn't attended one or has even attended one to continue, because I think they're great and I think they can just grow from here. October, they're looking to do a Pine Bush Cemetery walk, something a little different this year. And they are already in discussion for the recipients for the Historic Preservation Awards that they give out at Heritage Day. And their next meeting is scheduled for Monday.
Great, thank you. Just a reminder, we do have a folder in Dropbox that has all the applications that we've received for boards and commissions. We have a new process where if it's an advisory board, the liaison or myself, if you guys need me to do that, will work with 2 members of those advisory committees as a appointment recommendation panel. So I am hoping that we could make a set of appointments at our workshop meeting. I know that's only 2 weeks from now, so if we need more time for some of them, we can definitely just do that as needed. But we do have, we've got the 4 for ambulance, we have 2 for housing, we have 3 for climate smart. So just a reminder, if anyone has any questions or needs me to assist in any of that, please let me know, so that we can get those appointments made.
And we could do Zoom interviews with the.
Yeah, so just basically, it would be like a recommendation committee.
Yeah.
So however the commissions want to handle that, and then you would bring those recommendations to us. But those are not public meetings, and if you need Zoom account set up for those, just let me know. We have 2 Zoom accounts that we can use for that type of thing. Our other boards and commissions, the planning board, zoning board of appeals, board of assessment review, that is a different process where the town board will interview those people. So.
And people can apply if they're interested, even if there's no vacancy. they can
Correct.
submit a letter.
Yes, and we will hold, I'm trying to track applicants as they come in.
And another question, if a committee decides they want to add seats, then we just do a resolution to expand them. What's the process?
The town board would have
Town
to
board,
do
yeah.
that, but yeah. So I think that question of non-voting member
Yeah.
participation is both up to advisory committees, but then in terms of like voting members, that would be for advisory boards, we would make those adjustments through a town board resolution.
Okay.
If we agreed. Okay, anything else? So now I'd like to move on to agenda item 11, public comment. This is the time in the meeting that we have made for the persons of the public to address the town board. As a reminder, this is a little bit like public hearing in that we don't have question and answer sessions at this time. what we're doing is we're allowing the public to address the board. So we won't answer your questions if you ask them to us, and we won't get into a back and forth, and that we ask that you address the board and not have interactions or back and forth with other members of the public. We do, however, have board member time immediately following public comment. So anyone who is, has made a comment, we encourage you to stay at least through board member time, because we might choose at that time to answer questions or even engage with the member of the public that has asked that question, but I just wanted to say that. So what we typically do is ask for comments from everyone who is present first. So members of the public that are in person. And when everyone who's in person has gotten a chance to say something one time, then we open it up to any members of the public that have joined on Zoom. So first, I'd like to open the public comment period. Is there anyone who's here in person that would like to address the board? Charlie.
Yeah, there's a Delta Highway on Medical Arms Road and Queens Highway that needs to be picked up.
Oh, there's like garbage bags?
Yeah.
Medical homes in Queensville?
Those two that I can remember.
Did that happen last year too?
Excuse me?
Did that happen last year too? I feel like you came here and it was the same.
Yeah, it did. It was out there for over a month last year,
No, okay.
almost 2 months. Which is outrageous.
Do we know when they're doing?
Let's hold the questions. Carol, did you?
Yeah, I was thinking about the tires. Maybe have like 2 or 3 times a year where people can bring the tires to the dump instead of finding them on the road where the men or volunteers have to pick them up.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to address the town board?
It's in reference to the, I'll use our road, Boyce Mill Road, the intersection of Boyce Mill Road and Nine Farm Road. The signs, the road signs, name of the road signs are not clear as what road is what road. They are both facing the exact same direction. The traffic has decreased since the bridge has opened up on Sampsonville, which is wonderful. The through traffic is still coming through. They are not stopping, they're not slowing down, and we have not had any backup, whether it's from the town constable, sheriff's office, or trooper's office. We've been in touch with all 3 departments, and they have said that they have not heard anything from the town requesting anything. The constable's office said they have, but were told that their time is limited to be on our road. I understand their staffing problems, but the state troopers and the sheriff's departments have not said or heard from anybody saying from that whoever does their agenda meetings, that they are specifically asked to sit certain times at our road to stop. My husband was almost hit a week and a half ago by a car driven by a person who goes through our road all the time. The way he screamed and jumped back, I honestly thought he got hit. The car just kept right on going. It's local people who are going through these roads and don't care to even stop. A stop sign is a state law, and we have no enforcement. The way our property sits on that corner on both sides of Boyce Mill Road, there's just nothing that we can do except wind up getting injured one day. And then it's too late for anybody to do anything. So I'm asking for an on-site department meeting with maybe the supervisor, the highway supervisor, a state employee. Something needs to be done, please, to address the speed of the traffic and the stop signs that are going to happen. And it's not just our road. We're very private people. I grew up in this area my entire life. I like my nice, quiet little country life. I don't like getting involved with other people's business. That's their business. But when it creates a danger to us, and we've been asking for over a year for help, And nobody's done anything except stick a sign up that gets knocked over or blown over and totally gets ignored. It's an issue. It's a really big issue. And we have had our ears out in all kinds of feelers. It's not just our road, it's all the back roads. Town speed limits need to be dropped. The town roads need to be dropped to at least 25 miles an hour. If you can have Rosendale, High Falls, 209 New Paltz, main roads drop to 30, 35 miles an hour, there's no reason these back town roads anymore with the amount of people that are moving into this area cannot be lowered and enforced. That's all I have to say tonight. I would like to have an on-site meeting with people so they can understand the situation with the road.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who's here in person that would like to address the board? So we'll turn to Zoom. Michael, would you like to address the board?
Hi, how are you? Thank you for giving me the time. My name is Michael Lapau, and I live at 41 Sand Hill Road, directly next to the Stonehouse Tavern. Thank you for giving me the time and the platform to speak and address this board. I'm here tonight to address our years-long ongoing issues with the Stonehouse Tavern and its owners. I purchased my property in the spring of 2021. Upon moving in, I reached out to the restaurant owners to introduce ourselves as the new neighbors as a kind gesture, hoping to establish a rapport and a harmonious relationship. My understanding at the time was that we had shared access to Sand Hill Road, a private road not maintained by the town, as they have an entrance to the back of their restaurant on Sand Hill Road, which is the only access road to my home. On my first introduction to the restaurant owners, they informed me that they did not have legal right of way to use Sand Hill Road by the town, but were using it anyway and allowing their customers to access the restaurant via Sand Hill Road and have a restaurant sign posted on Sand Hill Road at the entrance. As a new resident, I wanted to be accommodating and didn't see any issues. However, when I saw the hundreds of cars and trucks driving back and forth on the road, which is a dirt road, throughout the spring, summer, and fall, I realized that my having to pay for road maintenance when I am one small family, as compared to their business usage, was going to be a large problem. I reached out to the owners to inquire about shared road maintenance, including snow plowing, and was met with indifference and an unwillingness to work with me as a neighbor. I was on my own to handle any road damage, including cleaning up the garbage littered along the road by their customers, including beer cans and other trash, let alone the potholes. In addition, at the time, spring 2021, the restaurant had outdoor music on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays from 6 to 9 p.m. There was never any attempt to reach out to any neighbors to alert us of any music events, the type of music that was being performed, or the time of night they were having live outdoor music events, or any consideration taken that this may be a disturbance or nuisance to us. We tolerated it briefly as we did not want to cause trouble or have an adversarial relationship with our neighbors, but I know other neighbors did complain, and some complaints of the owners, and were ignored. As the years have gone on, several events have occurred. I received a notice of hearing in April 2023 that the restaurant was applying to extend their outdoor dining allowed by executive order during the COVID-19 pandemic by the town planning board, and a public hearing was being held on April 12th, 2023. and the public was invited to attend and speak. I attended as well as another neighbor, and we addressed the board with our concerns about the music and how it has disrupted our quality of lives, how we've complained to the restaurant owners about the noise with no changes or regard for our quality of lives, and I addressed the continued illegal use of Sand Hill Road by the restaurant staff and customers. At that meeting, which was recorded on YouTube, and I'm happy to provide the link for everyone here in attendance, the town board members at the time suggested that we do the following. Number one, call code enforcement if the music is too loud. Number two, download an app that measures sound decibel levels and report the decibel levels to code enforcement. And number three, ask for a road maintenance agreement with the restaurant owners as they have a mobile home grandfathered in where they have renters on Sand Hill Road. Representation for the owners of the restaurant said in that meeting that they were cutting down their live music to 2 nights a week from 3, from Thursday to Saturday to Friday to Saturday, and only would be booking singer-songwriters, which would lower the volume of music from the large bands they usually have. I even recall, which you can see in the recording of the meeting on YouTube, that the board chair, Mark Grasso, at the time said, quote unquote, Mr. LaPau, you should be happy. They're reducing their live music nights by 33%. That's a win. In addition, the board informed the owners that they had no legal right of way to use Sand Hill Road, and they must install a fence or something to block the entrance to the back of the restaurant on Sand Hill Road. At the time, the restaurant was starting to expand their parking lot and create an entrance from 209 to their back parking area where they have outdoor dining and live music. Since that meeting, here's what has transpired. They increased their live music to 5 nights a week. Tuesday is open mic karaoke night. Wednesday is live music with a band. Thursday is trivia night. Friday and Saturday are live music nights with bands. The music has been louder and louder with large bands, horns, and no or very limited singer-songwriter acoustic performances. It took them over a year to install any kind of fencing at the entrance to their backspace from Sand Hill Road. They installed 2 poles with a rope that anyone can and have already easily remove and drive right in and park. This was installed in September of 2024 after many complaints to them about illegally parked cars from their customers on Sand Hill Road. In fact, on one occasion, a car parked blocking my driveway, and my family and I could not get our car into our driveway to get to our home. We complained many times about the cars, the no fence, and the noise from the music, and the responses we got from the owners were that they would, quote unquote, turn the music down, which they did not, and that they'll put up a no parking sign at the entrance to their back lot on Sand Hill Road. Since they installed the 2 poles with the rope at the entrance, the rope remained up for about 2 weeks and has since been down, so the entrance is wide open. Last summer, their backspace parking lot has had overflow cars parked on Sand Hill Road and have RVs using the road to park in their lot, which causes significant damage to the private dirt road I'm responsible for maintaining. And I assume the overflow is because the amount of parking spots in their lot could not accommodate the number of customers they had, which I'm assuming is against code. I contacted Courtney Coffey, the zoning coordinator from the town clerk's office, last year on July 23rd, 2024, via phone and follow-up email to express my frustrations and concerns about the noise and road issues and all that had transpired since the previous April. I also emailed her a summary report from a sound decibel level app I downloaded and a video from my deck of the sound of the band playing so she can hear exactly what I hear 5 nights a week. I received an email from Courtney on August 8th, 2024, and she informed me that she alerted the CEO and town supervisor, Aaron, and was told, quote unquote, "We are actively working on this. The town constables will be out there this weekend to issue tickets for parking on the road. The town supervisor has been made aware of the issues that are happening at Stonehouse Tavern. You are more than welcome to contact her at any time. Regarding your question about road maintenance agreements, unfortunately, this will become a civil matter. The town will not be able to step in since that portion is a private road." I called Erin after I received the email, and she kindly stated that she would be sending regular patrol to Sand Hill Road to ticket cars illegally parked. I expressed my concerns that I was told to call code enforcement if the music is too loud, but there is no one there to answer the phone on evenings and weekends, so that is of no help. She recommended I call the town constable if the noise gets too loud or if cars are parked illegally. I did call and was told by him that he gets many complaints about the music being so loud, and he reports the complaints every time he gets one, and that there's nothing he can do personally except report the calls he's received to code enforcement, and that he understands how disruptive it is to our quality of lives and how unfair it is to the residents. He explained that since the Stonehouse Tavern is not legally considered an event space, they do not have noise limitations and do not have to abide by any decibel level requirements, which is ironic considering as I was told by the town planning board at the April 12th, 2023 meeting to download a sound decibel level measuring app and report the decibel levels to code enforcement. My research has found that our designated event spaces are limited to 26 nights a week, 26 nights a year of outdoor music. I followed up with an email to Erin, Courtney, Alyssa Farrell, and several others on September 16th, 2024, after I had not heard back from anyone regarding these issues. I outlined all concerns and issues, and I did not hear back from anyone. Then I received a letter in the mail alerting me of a planning board meeting on this past Monday night. I called Erin last week to alert her that I would be attending that meeting, how no one had ever gotten back to me after I emailed last September, and that May 1st is quickly approaching and the music is going to start again, and I will not tolerate it anymore. And she encouraged me to attend this town board regular business meeting tonight, as well to share my concerns, which I plan on reading the same speech that I read on Monday. So here we are. Here's where my fellow neighbors and I see where things stand after how we've been treated and all that has transpired. The restaurant has been prioritized over our rights as citizens and residents of our town. Our quality of life has been deprioritized. We have not been heard or listened to. We are forced to live with excessive loud music in our backyards 5 nights a week for 6 months out of the year, where we can't even open our windows or sit on our property outside. Nothing has been done to help us, and now we are being informed that they are applying for expansion of their outdoor dining and subdivision of the property. I've heard from several neighbors, town members, and town board members that the code enforcement officer, I believe it's Albert Jerry Davis, according to your site, refuses to do anything to address the complaints he's received over the years. I'd like an answer as to why and how he still holds this position if he refuses to comply with the Stonehouse's permit regulations when they are clearly in violation. I would like to know what is going to be done about this and when. And if nothing is done and we are forced to live with this noise, myself and my neighbors will take action, which can and will include legal, the media, public protests, and the installation of speakers on my property line facing the restaurant outdoor space where I will blast my own music at the highest volume nightly, as there seems to be no consequences for the Stonehouse Tavern. I will be requesting via the Freedom of Information Act for the Stonehouse outdoor dining and music permits, as well as the number of complaints received by code enforcement, dates received, and what code enforcement has done about each complaint, and what code enforcement is legally required to do. These are just some examples that we have discussed. We will not stop until this is resolved and we can live in peace. I have the time and resources to fight, and believe me, I will. I also want to bring up case law over the past 10 years regarding zoning designation changes that have put restrictions on outdoor music that included Elm Rock, Crested Hen, Ackerd Speedway, Arrowwood, and Westwind Orchard. The Stonehouse Tavern is surrounded on all sides by private properties on every property line. There is no way to mitigate sound coming over the property lines. The only way is to put restrictions on them to assure that their neighbors won't have to live with this for 130 nights per year, which is the 5 days a week for 6 months a year, which is how long this goes on for. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I look forward to hearing your response.
Thank you, Michael. Is there anyone else who'd like to make any additional public comment during this time? Okay, so we will move on from the public comment portion of the meeting, and that brings us to town board member time.
I'd like to just address the traffic issue. I was on Lucas Turnpike and witnessed a dog fatally hit, and the woman's screams haunt me. It could have been a child. Did they leave?
Yeah.
Oh, well, just for everybody else. So it's something that's on my radar, and generally code enforcement giving it some teeth. So thank you for your comment.
Anyone else?
Just thank you, for feedback to the community, as always. We don't know about these things until they're brought to our attention, so. Thank you, specifically, I'm referencing Michael, who I have not, known of his issues before now, severely, and then also just welcome to Zombie. Thank you.
I handed out a brief note, some notes on grant opportunities. Can I take a couple minutes to talk about that?
Sure.
So I spoke with Climate Smart Gardner, or representative there, as well as representative of Millennium Strategies. So there was a question about where the majority of the funding came from. There's it was over $300,000 from direct applications to NYSERDA. So I was speaking to Millennium Strategies about that, and they say they don't anticipate any impact to those grants. So that's an opportunity where we can look with or without engaging Millennium Strategies. They haven't directly written most grants like that, but they would be open to helping. And we talked a little bit about how some grants are designed to be more approachable and have support for non-professional grant writers, and some are very oriented and very technical. So in terms of prioritizing what we could do on our own versus what we would engage a consultant for. There are also members on Climate Star and ECC who have worked with NYSERDA distributions before, so that will be a good resource moving forward. Gardner said that they were working with ECC, Parks and Rec, and Climate Smart with Millennium Strategies, and they're still in the early stages. So they didn't have a huge amount of feedback in terms of what's the ratio of spend versus grants received or anything like that. Millennium Strategies has a flex service model to support orgs without their own grant writers, and for a fee, I think it's $5,000. They give access to grant opportunities, and they give you a 1 to 2 page snapshot with each grant, and then We bring it back, decide if we want to engage. They said generally they don't see any indication of federal clawbacks of federal monies yet. They are starting to change guidance in terms of which grants to support. They said one bright spot, flood mitigation funding is widely available and they're working on a lot of those distributions, and that would be something that our community would obviously be very interested in. Philanthropic money, private programs as well, especially for aging, youth arts programming, a little bit of health and parks. Those are other things that they're working with. And then in terms of the process, you can have up to 5 to 15 points of contact for the department heads, however you want to handle it in terms of how you interface with Millennium Strategies. And then you can use just for research, or they can write for us, or anything in between that. And then for full consulting for larger governments, can see returns of many, many times, tens of millions of dollars. So they offered that if we're ready to, talk, they can come and do like a 10-minute presentation for us at some point in the future. So just putting that out there.
Do you have any ballpark ideas of like what's like the range for like retaining them for research versus doing grant writing, or is it more about the scale?
Yeah, I mean, that's what the flex model is about. So it's just, I think for $5,000, they give you like access to the portal and the snapshots of the grants. And then if you want like more hand holding or them to actually write the grants, then I think it's like, there's an additional fee depending on the size of the grant or how complicated it is. So, and then again, like I can grab more information. I just grabbed like 20 minutes with them because I wanted to have something for you guys.
Alexis, can you give me the name? Sorry, Millennium
Strategies?
Strategies.
Yeah.
Any other board member time topics?
I just want to say, I mean, we continue to hear about noise issues. We heard it last year. We're getting into the season where it's going to be an issue. I know personally, there are venues around me where in the summer noise is going till midnight. So I personally am supportive of some kind of very tailored noise ordinance. I think there's something that we can do about amplified sound. If you're hearing it beyond a property board, I think it's very reasonable for people to not have continuous music playing until 11 p.m. throughout the summer. So I'm willing to look at resolutions and putting an ordinance in place that would support that if the board thinks that makes sense, because we do continue to hear about it.
Do you guys want to investigate, or do you guys as a board want to prioritize implementing a noise ordinance in town? I know you do.
Yeah, I would be interested. I live, just to point out, a business that's been responsible. I live across the street from Toronto Market, and they had a couple of noisy nights, and they texted me right after, said, how are you feeling about the noise? So there are responsible businesses out there, and there are opportunities for creating these relationships, and I would be interested in doing something as well.
I think it's been a continuing problem for decades. And I think we have to differentiate between amplified noise and occasional noise like lawnmowers and things like that. And be sensitive to certain home occupations that might have machinery, but I think amplified sound is certainly something that is inherited frequently.
What do you think, Charlotte?
I'm happy to pursue it. We'd love if we could find a way to make the school included in it, my neck of the woods, because they're exempt from all of our laws in their football stadium sound system. It's quite noisy. So would love to see if that could happen, but I don't think it's possible. But I fully pursue for everywhere else of town to have some teeth to back them, the sound systems they live next to.
But it also comes down to enforcement.
Yeah,
It's the second
so
problem.
Lack of enforcement.
I agree. And I've talked to other towns that have noise ordinances, and that's the number one, because like Michael pointed out, it's 10 o'clock at night that you would be getting a call. So we have to have the staffing to back up We have to have scheduled staffing to back up that.
Or in this case, the noise is predictable, you know when it's happening, and
Yes,
it's not. a
yeah,
matter
we can
of
schedule it.
Having
yeah,
24/7 availability, it's
Exactly.
Or
it's predictable.
right, making sure these fines go through, because it's also not like I'm saying go use it for revenue generation, but these positions should be paying for themselves a little bit, so the fines actually have to get paid.
Yeah, so
We
fines,
can't do anything with fines, that's under the justices that are processing.
well, I
If
was
you
gonna,
implement the
I,
law, you can have it in the law.
In the
Yeah.
law, but no, but I'm saying as far as actually making sure the fines
Oh,
are
it's-
charged to people, that's fully in the justice's control. And at least in my time on board, they have not set above the state minimum for most charges, and that means that we don't get any money for the processing of what happened in our court, regardless of if it was our own ticket or not.
Do we have data on how many tickets have been written, and do we have that?
I have,
I'm
a-
sure they do.
I have a little bit of data on that.
Do
We
we,
can also investigate, I think there might be some fines we can implement that go to the clerk's office. So we can, we could look at that. Okay, I think I wanted to hear from you. You wrote an amplified sound draft that got turned down a couple years ago. So we have something we can go off of. Do you still have that and that you could put? Or,
My perfect filings.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I have it.
Okay, we'll see if we can find that. And I think also a community minded approach. I've talked to several people that have asked if they could assist with this issue, and it might be a community, like we've been talking about with having the housing events. I think we could also have some community events around sound and noise and how to have like an approach that doesn't damage the community. It addresses the issues that, which I think was the main concern. That's always been the concern, but.
is there a consolidated complaint log?
So, thank you for bringing that up. There is not. And that was something I was going to mention to the board, and while Michael Lapau is here. In the law. It says, that the complaints are supposed to be reported to the town board. And so I was on Monday going to implement a complaint log policy, like directive to the code enforcement office. With requirements that I want to have the complaint, the details of the complaint. And then the actions taken, and then have that be reported to the board on a monthly basis. Because that hasn't happened, but it's in the law, the code enforcement.
Is there a
Law.
way to put some sort of complaint entry system on the website itself?
Yeah.
So it generates those reports and sends them to the parties that need to see them?
Yes, we can do that. It might be faster
Yeah.
for me to start with a
Yeah, no, yeah.
spreadsheet, and then we do have the ability to implement that.
I'm happy to make you Google form for town with a fillable form that'll just auto-populate into the spreadsheet. You'll
Yeah.
see it if you want.
I think just making sure everyone uses it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we can do that. Yeah, for sure. And have it be have an automated email sent out too.
Yeah, I meant for like the website basis.
Yeah.
It would be easier to do a Google form at the least, so that it just at least auto-populates that internally if you do a different way.
Yeah. Okay, so we will, and I do want to thank Michael for coming. We have talked a couple times and I encouraged him to come so that you could hear what he had to share. Because it is, again, a townwide issue. This is something we hear about a lot. And a noise ordinance would apply townwide. It would not have to be something that goes into a site plan approval. It would go on top of what has already been approved.
Since we're on that topic, we also, in the constabulary report, there's additional complaints about light trespass and things, and we've
Uh-huh.
talked about a lighting ordinance as well, so
Mhm.
we want to look at that. I pass a few that I am blinded by.
We had a draft.
We had a
Oh,
very
yeah.
complicated draft,
That,
yes,
yeah, that.
Yeah, we worked on it.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have some starting.
We do. I want to be mindful of our capacity as a board, and I do think, while I agree, I do think the noise, I feel like the noise issue has been something that we've been dealing with for 10 years, very, like, a lot. And it's something that I think is gonna take us some time to get right, especially with the enforcement piece. So I think if we could definitely put that on our list, but I think prioritizing the noise.
Yeah, I think one thing that would be interesting would be to know if code enforcement is getting complaints about that or private mail. I mean, I know we had the one issue, but it'd be interesting for them to just keep an eye out.
Yeah.
Here out. Whichever they keep out.
Okay, we're a little past our time, so unless there's anything else, we can move on to the next item, which is just to do the review of the environmental assessment form part 3. I'm sorry, Zolly, I did not print it out for you.
Okay.
I'm sorry, am I finished?
Yes, you are. I'm sorry, Michael, it's a little cold of a process.
I totally get it. I just wanted to say thank you for giving me the time to speak and for you to hear my concerns, and you know, I want to work with everyone, and I also want everybody to know this does not make me happy. I don't want to have to deal with this at all, and I certainly don't want to you know, hurt their business in any way. I'm supportive of our local businesses. It is not my intent at all to do that. It's just I have to deal with 130 nights a year of basically a concert in my backyard. So that's my concern. The road is my concern. But again, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for hearing me out. And Erin, I guess I'll follow up with you at some point in the next couple of
Yeah,
weeks.
I'll keep you posted on the progress of noise ordinance, and then if we have some community meetings about handling noise, like we talked about on the phone, so.
Okay,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much. I
Right.
appreciate
Good night.
it. Good night.
Okay, so we're doing, I can. We sort of already reviewed this at our last meeting, but because I hadn't posted it publicly in the drive, we decided to table this. And I'm just gonna, I can put it up on the screen.
This is where the parking lines and yeah, I don't know. Good question. It's like parking.
He says they don't have right of ways.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. This is like their outdoor dining area, so that must be like up here then.
No, I'm getting it up because I forgot to print it out. I'm so sorry. That was not put it on my screen. So, we're really just reviewing that part 3, which is to say that it's no impact, but just to review with the board. So we reviewed this quickly, but this is a type 1 action.
Properties.
This is for I'm sorry, we are doing the review of the environmental assessment form for local law 2 of 2025, which is amendment to our zoning. So we are fixing a typo.
So we're basically changing the form of the report.
No, we closed the public hearing.
Oh, this is
For-
the EAF on the amendment to law.
Correct. So it's a very, we're fixing a typo, 2 typos and making 1 clarification.
Okay.
And we just have to do this before we adopt the law.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I moved through that really quickly. So basically part 1, I completed on my own and sent that with our referral. That's just the information that's requested. Part 2, basically is we are making the determinations on impact. And we're basically either saying something has no impact or it has impact. Because this is just fixing a typo, I checked no impact on every single box.
Agreed.
So, just wanted to review that with the board. That is this. The only one that really pertains is, if it complies with adopted town plans, and if it does not comply with adopted town plan, so, but that it absolutely does, because of the aquifer protection zone. So we say no on all of those. That's part 2. And then part 3 is just the part in the form where I check that there is no significant, this is the actual determination, that we make the determination that this is of no significant adverse impact on the environment. And therefore, we do not need to do an environmental impact statement. So that is, and then, we have a resolution on the agenda where we make that determination. So, I just left
Do you
that.
need a motion to approve this?
We will, when we get to the agenda. I just wanted to make sure we did the review as a board. And if everyone is okay with the forms that I circulated, then we can just move on to our resolution portion of the meeting. Okay. Great. So first item is, and so just a reminder, I made this printout of our amendments, so kind of keep that to the side of your agenda because I'll be referencing those amendments. First item, acceptance of the minutes. I'd like to make a motion that the Town of Rochester Town Board accepts the minutes from the January 23rd, 2025 meeting as presented and amended.
Okay.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Only 1. Yeah. Acceptance of the donations. I have, I only have 1. Can I go one? Oh, from Tim Riley? Yes. Okay. All right. So I'd like to make a motion that the Town of Rochester Town Board accepts the donations as follows. $40 from Tim Hurley for the St. Patrick's Day luncheon. $300 from the community bus trip, and $64.83 from St. Paul's Textile.
I think it was me.
What I think it's Michael.
Kate gets to decide. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. All right, acceptance of the abstract. So that is on the sheet. I have that listed, so I'll go ahead and read that out. I'll make a motion that the Town of Rochester Town Board accepts abstract 3A 2025 and authorizes the supervisor to remit payment. So that will be oh, hold on. I have there's a typo. I'm going to read these and then I will correct them. Sorry, I made a mistake. General fund, not including escrow, is $40,985.65. I'm just off by one line. Highway fund, $14,690.27. Ambulance fund is $0. Capital fund is $300. Street lighting fund, $326.91. And escrow fund, $12,150.76. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Escrow is technically part of general fund, but we like to keep it separate for the audit review. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstain, motion carries. So on the next item, if we have time, I want to table the code enforcement building fee adoption. Oh, sorry. The next item is the planning board fee. I presented those to the board last week and I put those in the drive and they were in the public drive. So I'll entertain a motion to adopt that fee schedule.
I make a motion that upon advisement of the planning board, that the town board establishes the 2025 fee schedule effective April 1st, 2025 as presented.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, motion carries. And then we're gonna table code enforcement, but if we have time, I wanted to ask the board a few questions about some of the fees in our discussion portion. Okay, now we've got the seeker determination. This is a roll call vote. So I'll make the motion, whereas the town board of the town of Rochester is the seeker lead agency for conducting the environmental review of proposed amendments to the town zoning law, town of Rochester, Ulster County, New York. And whereas the town board classified the action as type 1 on January 23rd, 2025. And whereas there are no other involved or federal agencies pursuant to seeker. And whereas the town board has reviewed the full environmental assessment form for the action, including the part 1, part 2, and part 3 dated March 13th, 2025. The probable environmental effects of the action against the criteria for determining significance found in NYCRR 617.7.c and has considered such impacts as disclosed in the EAF. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board adopts the findings and conclusions related to probable environmental effects contained within the attached EAF and negative declaration and authorizes the supervisor to execute the EAF and file the negative declaration in accordance with the applicable provisions of law.
Second.
Any discussion? So that's a roll call vote.
So I just want to let you know, roll calls is done by alphabetical order
Okay.
and then supervisor at the end. Okay. Councilman Alba,
Aye.
Councilman Coleman,
Aye.
Councilman Smeeseth,
Aye.
Councilman Nguyen,
Aye.
Supervisor Nowen.
Aye. Motion carries. On the our next motion is to adopt that local law. Zolly, just so you know, I'm gonna advise you to abstain because board members have to have the local law in hand 10 days before passage, and since we just joined the board, I think that would be. So, can I have another board member make the motion?
Sure.
Mhm.
Recommended resolution, okay,
Whereas a proposed local law 2 of 2025 entitled amending local law 6 of 2024, amendment to chapter 140 zoning due to errors and omissions was presented to the town board of the town of Rochester at a regular meeting held on January 23rd, 2025. And whereas a resolution was duly adopted by the town board of the town of Rochester on January 23rd, 2025, setting a public hearing to be held by said town board on February 27th, 2025, and continued until March 13th, 2025, to hear all interested parties on said proposed local law. And whereas pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, seeker, the town board has determined the adoption of local law 2 as a type 1 action. And whereas the town board prepared and considered a full environmental assessment form, which evaluates the potential environmental impacts of the proposed zoning amendments. And whereas the town board determined that the adoption of local law 2 will not have a significant adverse impact on the environment, that a draft EIS would not be prepared, and adopted a negative declaration under seeker on March 13th, 2025. And whereas the town board of the town of Rochester, after due deliberation, finds it is in the best interests of the town to adopt said proposed local law in the form attached here too. Now therefore be it resolved by the town board of the town of Rochester as follows. Item 1, the town board renames proposed local law 2 of 2025, amending local law 6 of 2024, amendment to chapter 140 zoning due to errors and omissions, local law 3 of 2025, amending local law 6 of 2024, amendment made to chapter 140 zoning due to errors and omissions. And item 2, town board hereby adopts said local law 3 of 2025 in the form attached hereto and made a part of this resolution. And item 3, request the town clerk to enter said local law in the minutes of this meeting to give due notice of the adoption of said local law to the Secretary of State of New York and to take all other actions as may be required by law.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain?
Me.
Motion carries. So next, I wanted to see if you guys were ready to schedule a public hearing on our next local law, which is the one that requires engineered or architectural plans for all residential structures. So I was gonna suggest that we do our April workshop for that. We were,
Yes.
okay. So. Okay, so I'll make a motion that whereas the town of Rochester is required to hold a public hearing. So we'll call this local law 4 of 2025, amending local law 4 of 2023, a local law amending chapter 65, building construction of the code of the town of Rochester. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board schedules a public hearing for Thursday, April 24th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. at the Harold Lipton Community Center to receive public comment and request the town clerk provide legal notice as required. Second? Second. Any discussion?
In general, how long does it take for the code on 360 to be updated once we submit to the New York State?
Are you talking about the previous
Yeah,
resolution?
I just forgot that.
On E-code 360, it's just a couple days.
Couple days.
The state filing though can take 20 days.
20.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Any other discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, motion carries. All right. For the next one, does everyone feel comfortable supporting the resolution, knowing that the county EMS fund resolution, knowing that it's gonna change a little bit? From what?
Yes.
Okay,
Well, was Chris' suggestion to wait?
Yes, that's what I.
on a letter, he was saying he was supporting waiting, but I didn't get the impression that he was suggesting that we wait to write in a letter of support.
Oh, I thought he was saying the weight on the resolution.
Yeah,
That's what I actually
thought-
wrote down, table so they can build the resolution to be stronger for next month.
yeah,
Oh, yeah,
'cause
wait
he
a
said
month.
that, legislator Kovacs is working on a new tighter verbiage of the letter of support, since getting how you paused it. That's what I got as a takeaway.
Yeah, I think it's fine if we want to wait.
Maybe, yeah, we could just pass a resolution, a simple one saying that we support the county creating a funding opportunity that, you know, addresses the needs, rather than naming the resolution. Or we can table it.
Why don't we table it till the workshop meeting and then we can just confirm with Chris and hopefully we'll have the new verbiage by then, if not, because he said that next week he was hopeful that he would come out.
Okay. One of the reasons they tabled it is because they didn't have letters of support from the towns.
I mean, we could.
That was what I was given from the town supervisors,
You
which is
could-
why they wanted us to pass this so that they could get all the letters of support for the fund.
Oh, I'm fine with passing.
So,
We could easily change it to be generic.
Generic word English.
And should we just take out the two paragraphs that reference resolution number 102 on the second page?
Yeah, but we need to. Yes. But I think we also just need to change on the resolution.
Yeah, I guess we can leave it because they didn't amend the resolution.
yeah, I think we could also just say, we could just add a sentence that we support the resolution and any, you know, improvements made to it to make it you know,
You just say you support a principle.
Yeah, that's not changes. Yeah, I was trying to figure out, we could just say, you know, we support. Ulster County Legislature's efforts to find a countywide solution for providing long-term funding in support of emergency medical services. Or something like that.
Mhm.
You want me to make that?
Sure.
So what I'm gonna do is I'll make the resolution, skip the two specific ones, and jump down to the bottom part.
Which two specific? You're gonna read it.
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen. Okay. All right.
If we're just deleting those two paragraphs, can we dispense with the reading?
I was gonna delete, 3. So I was gonna basically we could go from the beginning, so the first whereas, the second whereas. The third whereas, and then. The ones after that, so whereas 4, 5, and 6 would go out. And then say, now therefore be it resolved that the town board, the town of Rochester hereby expresses its strong support for the Ulster County Legislature's efforts to find countywide solutions to provide long-term funding support of emergency medical services. And urges the county legislature to continue work to ensure the availability of high-quality EMS services for all residents of Ulster County. Do we need the last part?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, and resolve that a copy of this resolution shall be forwarded to the. Yep.
Okay. Do you have that?
Yep.
But
Charlotte, second.
as presented
And
and amended, we said.
any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Okay. So the two Bridge New York resolutions, those have sticky notes on them. That is the first one, resolution J. this, does anyone want any time to review, or would you like me to read it, or are you okay with me passing it as presented?
This is 152.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Once we get to the part one, I have
Oh, the RFB.
the RFB.
Oh, okay, great.
I haven't-
I put-
once we get there, I was just making. sure
I
that these were
added-
related.
I added a discussion before we do that, just so we're not being messy with our, okay,
Thank you.
great. Okay, so I'll make a motion. Can I just make a general motion to?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution as presented.
Second.
Resolution J is presented. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Next resolution, this is for the federal aid local project agreement for the Sundown Culvert. This one, we are responsible for 100% of the project costs. To be reimbursed 100%. So I'll make a motion. Oh, were you gonna ask something?
This is 995,000,
Yes,
and we get reimbursed for it.
100%. Yep. Yes. It also, the expenditure doesn't come all at once, and it will also be in like 2 years. But we do have the fund balance for
Move that
this.
we adopt resolution L. I move that we adopt resolution L.
Second? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Okay. So I did want to go ahead, I'm just adding a discussion about the request for bid document. I have included the red lines that I made since I circulated this in tonight's backup. So there's a sticky note that says resolution M on it. I thought we could have just a little discussion to review before we move to adopt the bid.
Sorry, can I just?
Oh, you're right. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Skip
you're
ahead.
Yeah, was it the resolution?
I skipped ahead. So we did, oh, right. We did L as presented. That's the contract. So K as presented is the funding resolution. Right?
Second.
So yeah, I'll make a
Oh,
motion
yes.
to pass resolution K as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. So for that, for Sundown, we are doing the resolution and authorizing myself and Mary Lou to sign the federal aid local project agreement. Okay, so now we're at the bid. So first, let me just, this bid will include the appendices, which I can pull up if you guys would like. So that's the number one thing I wanted to point out is, I'm gonna pull up the bid folder. These are mostly maps. We had, this project is funded $100,000 from the Ulster County Parks and Recreation ARPA grant fund. The town will be paying $175,000 for this very nice bathroom. So we hired a engineer to do the plans. And what this is for is the construction bid. So we are looking for a contractor to do the work in accordance with the plan documents.
When I did a quick read through, did it specify hot water?
There's hot water in the plans themselves.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah, we didn't. They are in the plan set. the, today, when I was reviewing the documents, I realized that when I read the contract for the grant, there are requirements in our grant contract. So, we are including that in the bid, so that's the version that I circulated. And then the appendices, I will highlight in yellow the sections of that contract that apply to the subcontractor.
Do these contracts normally have a no kickback clause?
Can you explain your question?
Where the bidder is not paying any money?
Oh,
I see you have, I see there's a no collusion. I just don't know if, I mean. I don't know if municipalities would like that. Because
yeah,
in most of the contracts I've done. They do have a no kickback clause.
I used our template. So I don't think we normally have that in there. I will leave it to my more contract focused board members to advise, but I don't remember that we've ever had that in there.
I don't think you're saying like paying for the privilege of winning.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think we've ever had that. It's hard to put it in there.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean,
It'll-
we're also not allowed to get gifts, but $25, $70, $50,
$75.
I think it'd be multiple laws broken.
And a waiver of jury trial. That I put in there.
Oh, what would that say?
It basically says that all parties to the contract waive their right to a jury. I'm sorry,
They have to go and
that is a bench trial. And the advantage there is you don't get into. It's a lot cheaper to adjudicate, and you don't have to deal with juries that might make a judgment that's not legal, that's not really in full conformity with the law. It was influenced by.
Is that something, do we know that we can do that?
I was
As a
gonna say, I
town?
think that we should get verbiage for both of those and send them to council for if we
Okay.
should add them to our contract process. I don't wanna add anything that's not already pre-approved from our council, you know what I mean, and then vote for it.
Send it.
Yeah, and the other thing I was gonna say is this is the bid.
I mean, for this one, it
Yeah,
doesn't
this is-
matter.
Yeah.
I
it's
think
just
of the
bid
actual
one, yeah.
contract.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was gonna say in the actual
Yeah.
contracts, you may have had those in there, I've just
Yeah.
read far too many pages of contracts in my time at this point,
Yeah.
to remember that specific.
Yeah.
The jury one, I wanna say we definitely, cause I'm picturing that title underlined from reading it in a contract that
I
we.
mean, normally a contract would have venues, type of law, waiver, jury, trial.
Mhm.
And for bidding, in my experiences, we've always had a no collusion, not a no kickback clause.
Mhm.
I don't think we can legally do. I'll wait here.
Anyway,
Okay.
it doesn't matter for this.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter
but
for this.
heard. Were there any other, I'll pull up the appendices folder, but any other changes or additions? The thing that I'm thinking of adding, so I'm applying for an extension. The tight timeline, it's a very tight timeline. The reason why it's that tight is because the recreation department does not want there to be this large excavation project happening during the summer program. So if I were to apply for an extension and get that for the grant, there could potentially be some work done after the summer program. But ideally, we could find someone who's just able to just do this, which, that would be amazing. So we could either leave the bid as is and wait to see if anyone feels, like they would need to do a timeline amendment, which is totally possible that we could do that. We don't want to have we don't want to have this happening during the summer program.
Both, let's apply for the extension, but
Leave it.
only bid it with the dates, with the
Okay.
timeline.
Okay.
If we are granted the extension.
Another question, do the specs have dark sky lighting?
But you know them much better than I do.
I don't,
I think we can require that for the fixtures.
yeah, I don't remember what the fixtures stipulated. I think Peak usually includes that. I mean, they know our code.
So that was where I was gonna go with my edits, and it's not to the actual RFP. I'm happy to find which one it was, my laptop on the one of started before I came, with my notes on it, on the actual document. But there was no reference of flooring, it said that in Peak's design, it said that all fixtures, paint, like anything cosmetic and actual fixtures
Yeah.
was our decision.
Right.
But then we don't say anywhere in here that we specifically want ADA fixtures, that we want
Okay.
low layer, so that's where I was wondering, I don't know if the RFB is the right place to
Yeah.
put it, or if it's in one of
should
the
be,
other
because-
ones.
It should be.
It
Yeah,
should
we
be
should
in
include that in there.
It was
Yeah.
somewhere else that I noticed, I think
Yeah.
it might have been just in Pete's plans where
Yeah.
it said that all cosmetic was up to us, and then I didn't see anything about like if it's tile floor, if it's tile backsplash. Concrete floor, drain in the center of the floor, I think the drain was on the design, but other than that, like it didn't say anything for materials. It had suggestions for the actual structural, but not.
So where it says 2 ADA compliant bathrooms, you think you want to stipulate with ADA compliant fixtures or specific fixtures or?
It's fixtures, cosmetic fixtures to be determined with.
But if it says ADA compliant,
Yeah, the whole thing's ADA compliant, but it's like there's never mentioned specifically of handrails in any of these documents. Those are part of ADA compliance, so it's like, I know that those are implied, but I want to make sure that they're actually put in there. We had issues with another contract that redid the
For an ADA.
for an
accessible bathroom.
ADA accessible bathroom that expanded into a larger project, which actually, if this is the model contract we use or bid on that, we're owed some money. Because it says that they're required to pay all of the trim. Which was my biggest complaint, that wasn't done, that the holes were still in the trim without finishing paint or putting.
So in response.
So yeah, I'd say, maybe it's
So
just that like,
I think we could include that in that. Design and engineering, so it says use of water saving fixtures and sustainable materials.
yeah, so maybe we do
so-
water saving fixtures, comma, ADA. Fixtures,
ADA compliant. Compliant fixtures?
yes.
If you say in the notes, ADA bathrooms shall be equipped with safety features and grab bars in accordance with ADA requirements. In the most recent. That's what I'm saying. I think a lot of that, but I didn't look for lighting. Saying the clear floor space should be 30 inches minimum, but they do have.
Just the floor space, but not what the floor type
But
is.
let's say dark, it's fine,
Yeah, so
dark
80
sky. Compliant
We're changing tables in the fixtures.
lighting.
Hmm.
Yes,
Changing
there's
tables in the
changes.
fixtures?
Yeah.
There are changing tables.
Yeah, I got.
That's in the
It is in here, I looked for that one for it.
It's in the-
That's what
it's in the
kind of
opening.
to me with the hand railings.
Yeah.
I looked for.
Explicitly.
Yeah, I
listing
looked
the
at
fixtures.
dark sky compliant lighting and sustainable materials.
Should we maybe move the and to after sustainable materials and other cosmetic? Sorry, I'm trying to think of the word.
Sustainable materials and,
Oh, I guess in cosmetic materials as approved by the board.
or you're talking about sustainable materials for the fixtures?
No, I'm just saying, or that, just to leave it so that they can't just decide that they're gonna put in halogen lights. You know what I mean? So it's that, I mean, I know we mentioned lights, but it's something if we didn't measure it, like,
Oh, I see. That
they
would-
can't decide to put in round doorknobs instead of.
So
easily
we
ADA
have that
open
in the response requirements,
Do we, okay,
that it's, all labor,
Fine.
materials, equipment, apparatus, appliances, tools, transportation. So yeah, let's
Okay, so
say,
then that-
okay. Compliance with ADA accessibility standards, use of water saving fixtures, comma, ADA compliant fixtures, dark sky compliant lighting. Comma, sustainable materials, comma, and you're trying to say that you want a full, like, list in the bid of what they're using, or?
know that we get final say on it, that we get final approval is what I'm trying to say, that like they. Like they might not put what brand toilet is gonna be in the bid, you know, specifically, but if they come to us and they're like, hey, we only have these ones that aren't technically ADA compliant.
Okay,
That we supersede, you know what I mean?
I got it. I think I know where to put that. So,
If you want them to bid it, though, we have to make sure we're explicit about it.
No, but I'm just talking about like more of the actual. I guess material and cosmetic features, like there's no floor type listed.
Yeah, well,
But-
I mean, I think it should be a
Things like that.
concrete floor with an anti-slip.
I also think it should be a concrete floor with an anti-slip, but if we don't put that in here, we might get designs with tile flooring, we might get. You know, like
Yeah,
knowing the bids we've gotten and how. Outlandish some have gotten in the past with what they were putting in or things like that, I just don't.
Mhm.
I guess I don't want someone to quote us for like $20 a square foot tile to put in for the floor, you know, and just have concrete.
Pretty handmade
Anti-slip paint,
artist.
you know?
okay, so how do you guys
We
want
can
to?
also just leave it without that, I'm happy as is. I know that we have like customized.
Well,
clause later on.
Yeah,
the design document says in 7, finished flooring, lighting, plumbing fixtures to be determined by owner, so I think we should. We should put that in the bid. if
Yeah,
we-
that's what that's the exact sentence I was trying to.
all right, let's put that sentence in.
Thank you, and you said it somewhere.
Yeah.
Better than I was saying it.
So. Do you want to put that in the design and engineering section or the construction?
You put that in construction.
Can you read that again?
Well, no, that's,
I know, but you guys said you wanted to put it in the bid itself.
no, I'm saying we should stipulate what our responses are for finished flooring. Um. Lights, like we should say finished flooring should be. I don't know, finished concrete.
You want to do that right now?
Well, that's if we want to stipulate that, because it says in the design that it's up to us if we want them to bid it. Or we just let them bid it and then if people bid
Then
it
we
with
can
tile.
negotiation.
Yeah,
I
we
was gonna say
can,
we can change it out.
once we award the bid, we can also.
What you don't want to do is get a lot of change orders that
Yeah,
inflate the bid.
Yeah,
Well, and this is,
that's true.
this references back to the plan and all the requirements, so since it's in the stipulation here in the building plans from. I'm fine with it, knowing that it's there. I knew I saw it somewhere. I just wanted to make sure it was in this to like.
Yeah.
Say that we have the final section.
But you specifically want to have concrete, not slip floor?
I don't know, I think they should quote what they think. I think if they're smart, they'll quote it as concrete floor, it's an unfinished space.
Okay,
Lasting.
Yeah. I mean. It's
No.
hard to stay within budget if you're tiling the floor, you know,
And Chris say there's like hemp concrete.
I don't. know. Yeah, so I don't think we need this.
compliance.
No, I think that
Well,
would be.
the other way to do this is to, this chart is to take away, just to re-weight some of these things on compliance with RFP scope and cost and budget detail.
I'm comfortable with it without
Okay.
adding the extra, just with the two additions. to
Okay.
that sentence that we have,
Okay.
those two with ADA and the lighting, because it's in the back of the plan, which is also it's the reference and falls back on anyway, so. I just wanted to make sure, I wasn't gonna turn into something to,
Okay,
or like, why are you putting a ban on the floor? How's that?
so where's my,
It's very.
where's the timeline?
Concrete is not, well, we still do, we use during the slab.
Did I delete the timeline from this version?
I was trying to see.
I thought there was another thing.
That I was missing, I think. Hold on. All right.
You mean the submission date then? You mean the full like grid timeline there?
The timeline of the bid,
Not do right now.
I changed it. I know, I changed it, I must have somehow deleted it.
Do you want me to send you? Did you add additional bullets or did you just change dates?
I changed dates, I think I have it in this other version. The one that I did. Okay, I deleted it. Sorry. Okay, the one that, we have to add that time. I gave us until the Monday before the April, so we're doing a tight timeline. So this section I accidentally deleted, so we'll add this back in, the project schedule. So see, I guess we're missing, 4.
Yeah,
Section
we're just
4.
missing that one broken.
So the project schedule RFB would be released tomorrow. Or RFB submission deadline, it's the 25th, but I feel like we should just give that until our April meeting so that we have more time for people to give a submission. So I was gonna recommend that be, we can make it April 4th and give the board a weekend plus. So it's gonna do the submission deadline is April 4th. Then
For UK.
we can award the contract at our meeting on the 10th. And then hopefully, there'll be the notice to proceed and contract and all of that, but we're just giving ourselves 20 days for that.
When is the rec department here?
7.
This is July 7th.
Cause I mean,
Maybe
worse,
time's getting like, maybe the first 3 weeks, they can come up with a plan B.
well, the most invasive is
Yeah.
gonna be the leach field and the slab.
I talked to them about it being up until the,
Right.
So if they get the leach field in and the slab poured, then. If they're doing construction on the building, it's,
well,
you still don't want to.
we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but. And then this is what I was thinking of, there are the reporting requirements, so we'll adopt this version of the RFP with the amendments we made in the meeting and the re-inclusion of the timeline and deliverables with this proposal submission deadline is April 4th. Okay. Anyone?
Release on 14 and April 4th.
Motion. Motion as presented and amended.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. I will get you a clean version and then a public folder
Okay.
that'll have all those plan documents in it.
Okay.
And I should by tomorrow have plan sets that people could look at. But we won't have copies of those plans that people can take with them. We just have 2 sets of those.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. All right. Share. Oh, okay, so this next is a general fund budget modification. I need to amend this a little bit more. I wrote this very quickly. So I'll make a motion that the Town of Rochester Town Board authorizes the town supervisor as the budget officer to move $2,751 from budget code A1620.112 cleaner to A1620.448 cleaning services. A1620.112 had 20,000 budgeted for a new budget total of $17,249. A1620.448 had 0 budgeted for a new budget total of $2,751. Any discussion?
This just finally got put on our log from civil service, right?
Yeah, so, and we hadn't budgeted, but we've been paying from that professional services code,
Mhm.
so we have to move it to
The actual.
fix the budget.
Mhm.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, motion carries. The next resolution is to make the appointment, to fund and make the appointment to that position, because we did not do this at our organizational meeting. So, I'm looking on the amendments version of the agenda. The Town of Rochester Town Board, I make the motion that the Town of Rochester Town Board funds the position of cleaner part-time at the rate of $21 per hour for 17.5 hours per week, and appoints Sheila Brown to the position starting March 16th, 2025, contingent on meeting the requirements of Ulster County Civil Service.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstain, motion carries.
Thank Sheila.
Yeah. So I have 3 additional resolutions. The first, it was basically, we are refunding, an application fee that the individual should not have had to pay for.
They did pay twice.
They did, I verified.
Confirmed.
Yep,
Okay, cool.
I did. Okay,
I make a motion to block vote, we don't have numbers on them.
well, you can just make,
I make a
Well-
motion to block vote, recommend resolutions. P, Q, and R as presented. Right? Are we,
are you guys okay with
you
that?
guys okay with that?
With all of those, we're making an appointment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I meant to say just the two paragraphs, right, that go together with it.
no, these are 3 separate resolutions.
I make a motion for P as presented.
Okay,
P and Q, could go together.
That's what I was thinking, yeah, that Q, that they were the same to
Second.
each other.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. I wanted to make sure you guys were okay with that middle one.
Mhm.
So I can read it, so that.
I
No,
don't think you need to read.
you don't think I need to read, you guys are totally okay with writing a letter?
Yes.
Can I read it?
Sure. Go ahead. You're okay with it?
Mm.
Okay. So I'll make a motion that the Town of Rochester Town Board passes the resolution regarding issuing a letter to the Zoning Board of Appeals as presented.
Okay.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries.
I'll move to reappoint, that the town board reappoint Renee Ciardi to serve on the Agricultural Advisory Committee in a term expiring 12/31/26.
Second. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. I talked to Renee yesterday, so. And then. Oh, yes, sorry, one more. You guys,
Is there one on the back?
there's one on the back. It's this. And we audited this voucher. So I'll make a motion that the town board authorizes the town supervisor to submit an application for approval of plans for a public water supply.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Okay. Oh, yes, we have another public comment. You have everything, all the resolutions are clear. Okay. So are there any members of the public that would like to address the board at the end of our meeting?
Yeah, unfortunately for me, I failed with due diligence. I wasn't following the whole bathroom facility construction project. I'm pretty busy with ZBA, so I neglected to pay attention to that. Listening to your discussion, for the last 2 years, I lived ADA compliance. It doesn't just start from the time you open up the door to the bathroom. So I know what you guys are considering fixtures. I know what you're considering spaces. Keep in mind when you're looking at these, to put yourself in the position of not just the person in the wheelchair, but maybe the caregiver that has to be with them, that there's ample space. The ADA doesn't start, like I said, at the door. It starts at the parking lot. From the time that individual has to ambulate from that vehicle to a safe parking space, get across terrain to that building. So along with this project, you might want to consider the cost that it's going to take to put in ample ramping, sidewalks, parking areas that aren't dirt, also handicap situations. Just throwing it out there. I know I'm late and, you know, shame on me for not paying attention to this sooner and bringing it to your attention. Just for my son's sake, keep that in mind. All right. That's all I got. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Can I say?
Yeah.
It does remind me that we were considering moving it, because originally we located it very close to the parking area, so I wonder if we need to, when they bid it, to make sure that there's some kind of paving, if it is gonna be moved back behind the pavilion, if there's like a paved section.
Sidewalk
Yeah.
section.
I think that's in the plan.
I thought
Is
that
it?
was in the plan. I thought
Okay.
we had paths to it that were paved. in
But
the
does
plan.
it stipulates paved?
I'm not, I know we had paths, 80% confident it was paved.
Because remember
But I think
originally it
that's
was.
Yeah, it was,
right-
that was right off of the parking lot. in
Will
the
that
front.
include like gradation up that little hill?
Now we're considering moving it. Because of the flooding there. I mean, we have excavation, grading and drainage, but and concrete work, but that's the slab.
Pulling up the full. Right now. See, that's note 249. I know when we met with Peak, we said it was paved, but I guess I.
To provide an accessible path. But I don't know, Ben,
Well, if you guys wanna go back and amend the bid to say that we wanna have paved.
I don't think we need to. It says that we have to grade it to provide level accessible route and directs. Yeah, I think we've stressed ADA enough that if they don't get that when we're saying accessible route, we mean ADA accessible route here, you know?
Kate, do you think if there was paving along that section, would that impact the rec department? Would that be like in the way of the space there? If it,
What section are you talking about?
so if the, instead of being right where the current
Bathroom is,
porta potty is, it would be like behind the pavilion, between town hall and the pavilion.
almost like where that electric pad area is over in that.
Yeah.
So right now, the proposal is to put it here. When I talked to the rec department, they said it floods there, so we were talking about putting it back here. It's flexible with the contractor, so it could go here, but it could also go back here, which was the original proposal.
Now it's back here closer to the basketball court, because I find that really far for people to go to the bathroom, especially if they're ADA compliant, if they're at the park.
Yeah, that's why I said.
You're
try to
basically
put it
pushing them
in
up
the
a hill.
corner
Yeah.
Where it's way.
Yeah, I think it'd be like kind of where, I think it's actually like here.
And Nadine said
But
that,
this is, they elevated it above. Nadine thinks they fixed the drainage issue with this plan. So I was gonna talk to the rec department to see if that was their only concern with that location.
Right.
If it is, then I think we can leave it there because it's
Right.
more accessible.
And yeah, I was gonna say that's the easiest way to make it. ADA accessible and for us to maybe pave that little spot to make the full parking lot and leave that corner spot as a handicap spot.
Right.
Cause there's not a sign now, right? For handicap parking there anywhere, yeah.
There's not even a spot.
Are we paving the parking?
No. but
Not at this
not
time.
This time, but I mean, that's. it's
That's
such a
the way we can
small
have the
spot that
highway
We can, like,
department
if we did another lot, like, I think easily, like, or we did have, like, easily add that little strip onto it, yes. Even if we only do 2 spots that are designated handicap spots, so that they're.
I mean, we're,
Are you, so just in terms of like
I think leave it.
it being 9:20, do you guys, are you fine leaving the bid
Yeah.
as it is?
I think we leave it, and if they bid on it, we should stipulate, we can confirm with Nadine if it's okay there in the rec department.
We'll keep an eye out.
Yeah, and then worst case scenario, could the highway department just put paving?
Yes, we
I was
can,
gonna
I mean, we
say,
can always
we can always
pave,
add on a sidewalk after
okay.
this
Yeah.
if need be,
So I'm good with
for not too impactful of a price.
Thank you.
What it- that's, yeah.
was there,
I'd offer to fund it. I mean, it's, there's nothing worse than telling your son, no, we can't go there. Because it's too muddy today, or there's too much snow. Or I can't push you today because my back hurts.
Important.
Right, so, and with handicap spots, a lot of times. They neglect to have loading zones, I'm just throwing it out there, these are all things that you learn to live with.
Yeah.
And, it makes a difference because somebody might absentmindedly park in an area and next thing you know, you have no place to unload.
thanks Clayton, were there any other members of the public that would like to speak now? Yes.
Hi, I just wanted to voice my enthusiasm for the community housing fund, and I'm looking forward to the community input on that.
Great.
Thanks, Cole.
Anyone else?
Since I'm here, this is spontaneous, but apropos of your decision to refund the money from the person who was misdirected, if you will, to the ZBA. We could have something on our books, as other places do, that says if you win an appeal in front of the ZBA, you get your money back. In other words, I don't think you should have to do a resolution every time somebody is successful before the ZBA, particularly on an appeal. Whether or not I'm granting them a variance might be a different question, but so I just, anyway, I didn't I just think that would be good, but I'm very glad that you did give it to that person because, you know, it was unwarranted. And it was an honest mistake because the rules had changed, but, I was very proud of the way Clayton and the ZBA dealt with it, and I'm glad that you gave them the money back. Thank you.
So we do have that clause for appeals. If
Yeah.
the applicant wins the appeal, they get the application fee refunded.
So,
We do have that, yeah.
Yeah.
But for this, it was a use variance and because it was in 2024, I had to have you guys issue the refund.
Because it wasn't the same.
yeah.
fiscal year for us to refund.
Yeah. So, so quickly discussion items, so for the community housing, RETT for community housing status update is that I'm trying to coordinate with Ken Stevens to meet this weekend, so that we can, I was not able to get all of the promises that I made 2 weeks ago addressed, but I thought Ken had offered to meet and so seeing if we can make something happen this weekend, like a workshop session. Email migration status update. So we are still working on an end of service agreement for that. I'm scheduling a meeting for next week to agree on a work plan timeline. And so hopefully we will have that in place and the work can move forward, you know, at our next meeting. So wanted to just bring this up. We should probably schedule some time for each board member to tour around with me and take a look at the condition that our buildings are in firsthand. I think everyone's like aware, but at the transfer station, we had some metal roofing panels blowing off the building and I went over to do an assessment and realized that this building is like about to fall over.
Yeah, there's not.
So we need to figure out a plan to take down that building and if we need to replace it, but that we could do a metal run-in shed. So I'm starting to look at that, but it's a bigger, this is a symptom of a very big issue. So I don't like putting Band-Aids on things that we will have to then replace, but I do think that we are in a position where we do need some Band-Aids. So it's not as exciting as some of our other initiatives, but I think this is something we really, really need to prioritize. I have a building condition survey that was done in 2021. I will add that to the drive, but basically nothing has happened since that was done. But that gives an assessment of where our buildings are at as of 4 years ago.
Band-Aids happen.
Not even Band-Aids.
No, we
A little roof
we
work.
did a roof job.
We did a Band-Aid and then a roof job.
Yeah, we did a roof job.
And the roof job's a Band-Aid because we need a whole new roof. It's technically a
It's
Band-Aid.
all of that, and then just like very, like one issue that comes up at least 3 times a week is, and it's not just me, but speaking from personal experience, I don't have my own office, so I'm fine in co-working spaces, but I don't have a confidential meeting space. So Kate generously lets me use the space that's in the clerk's office, but I know the assessor has that issue. Like, we're just all in this, you know, little fishbowl where you can kind of hear everything. So it's like both the conditions, but also we just don't have the infrastructure we need just for very normal things that I think are needed for doing town business. So, but that building, if you're at the transfer station, you should take a look. It's the garage building and
You'll know.
So what,
It's-
they have all the doors stacked against?
yes.
Yes.
And so there's that building. The pavilion itself has some rotted posts that we need to address.
Walking it, what was it, 2 years ago that you showed me it?
Yeah.
I wouldn't even go inside.
And the transfer station itself could get
Yeah,
a
it
whole
needs
new
to be
facility. But you know. Yeah. Grant,
From our housing survey, I have an idea for.
okay, so definitely the transfer station, but also all of our, I will be. This is something that we need to have like a 10-year plan. And it should have been done 15 years ago at least, but that's why I think it's imperative that we do this now. Workshop agenda items, I like to do this at the end of this meeting so that we all have a sense of what we're working on. I have one candidate for Board of Assessment Review. We, in our new practices, we are interviewing potential members of public bodies in a public meeting. So I'm scheduling that interview to happen at our workshop meeting, but that should be quick. If there are any ZBA candidates for the seat or the alternate seat, I can also try to have those, but we typically try to have those be very quick interviews. So I think I'm anticipating based on our applicant pool that max it would be 3 interviews. Go ahead.
Board of Assessment Review, is there time for the training to be done before this year's grievance day? for them?
Yes,
April is
that's,
training.
yeah,
You wanna
With
put
some
some
grievances.
May,
yes, yeah, the training
I
is at
thought
the
that
end
they
of
were quick back
April.
to that.
And
I had
then,
a
yeah,
digital officer, it's launching.
this candidate is on another advisory commission, so I think it's a good
Yeah.
choice, but
I just wanted to make sure there's time for them to get trained.
yes,
before
yeah, I think if we do
grievance
the,
day.
if we do the appointment at our next meeting, it should be good.
Yeah, we still should anyway, but I
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure that somebody could start.
I'd like, so those are those interviews, and then on the appointments, I'd like us to be able to do any appointments to our advisory boards that you guys have been working on, and then these appointments, I could potentially, I could potentially bring an appointment for the position in my office. I wanted to check in, that would be a town board appointment. Does anyone else want to review, interview? We don't have a hiring practice currently for like how we agree upon those appointments, but I just, since we don't have that, how would you guys like to have that presented to you in order to make an appointment? This would be someone who's working in my office 20 hours a week.
What is a clerk?
A general clerk, it is not a deputy clerk. So the deputy clerks are Kate's appointments.
I think you should have full authority to hire who you want for that position.
Just like your confidential.
It's not, I have a confidential secretary. This is someone to assist with the office. I'm hoping that they will actually assist with a lot of the
I
board.
mean, I agree with
Like a
Mark. I think you
personal
should hire
assistant,
whoever
really,
I think
in a
you
way,
should hire whoever you want, but if you want somebody to be a second set of eyes, I'd be happy to. When you were
Okay,
second.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's your final decision, but I know that we originally intended to have grant writing as part of the role of that. So if you do have applicants that applied with, like, I'm happy to overlook, like, as a second set of eyes type of thing. If like you got any like grant portfolios, I'm happy to read through them and give a yay or nay on which ones I thought were better.
Yeah.
did you say you wanted to make an appointment at the next meeting?
I could be able to
So
do
do
that.
you already have a candidate in mind?
I do.
So would you possibly not even do an interview then? I just feel like you need this person sooner
Yeah.
than later, so if you're gonna do interviews and.
It would be,
Delay the
if I
process.
can just handle the interviews on my own, that makes it go a lot faster.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would submit the resume and letter of interest to the board upon the appointment. So I was just I wanted to check in. There have been other hiring instances where we've had like a committee, and I wasn't sure that was what you guys were feeling, or if you were fine with me making the selection. I have done quite a bit of hiring. I feel very comfortable. But I just didn't want to present something and have you guys be like, who is this?
I think elected officials. For appointments that are underneath their offices. We can. Give our blessing or not, but I don't think that that's our decision. I think that it should be up to, you department heads that are in charge of those, and like, you're gonna be working with them day to day. Yes, I'll be working with stuff from them, but I'm not gonna, I don't have to sit in an office with them,
Yeah, okay,
so, or.
Yeah.
Back and forth. So,
Yeah. Great, thank you.
confident in you, but happy to.
So technically, this is not my, like, legally and technically, it's not my appointment, but I can make, feel very comfortable making the recommendation and bringing it to you. Okay,
As the department head for where this job will supervise, I think that it's your appointment.
okay, so that was in our agenda review, so, interviews, appointments for boards and commissions, potential appointment of a staff position. Kate will be bringing some proposals for the scanner replacement. Had a local records management grant that we were awarded, and a piece of equipment was purchased. That is a Canon printer under the assumption that it would work for us as a scanner. And it didn't get set up until I came into office. I think that was a coincidence, but it was when I came in is when it got set up. And then it turned out that this scanner that we purchased with the grant is not a scanner and will not work as a scanner and is a printer. So we have a $7,000
It's not a
unused Canon printer. So we
really nice printer.
It's a beautiful paperweight.
budgeted, I looked up some quotes and we budgeted to purchase outright. But Kate wanted to look into like comparing outright purchase to lease. So she's gonna bring us, so it's part of our records management. So Kate's gonna bring that to us. So that'll be on the next agenda.
Did we ever look into if we could sell that?
We can, we just have to do it.
Okay.
Yes, I would like to.
Yeah.
We should really do like a surplus.
Yes.
Bid all around. Every
Yes.
Department of
I've-
things that they'd like to get rid of.
There's a bunch of things that people have been, yeah.
Oh, yard sale. It's gonna pay for the new, paved 88 couple packs.
So we'll, I kind of, in the interest of time, we'll just put the code enforcement fees. Does anyone feel like they want to look at that with me? I'm crossing my eyes over it. I looked up comparables. I feel like what we had proposed was like a little high in places. And I just,
Look at it with you.
okay, it'd be good. I can just circulate that and with the intent of receiving feedback. And I put the comparables together. Then we can adopt it at the next. I was gonna have it as of April 1st anyway, so. And then we will be, there will be items for our ongoing, for the ongoing projects that we have. So we will have the community housing, real estate transfer tax for community housing. We should have community preservation plan updates, and are there any other noise ordinance? Michael sent that to me already. I'll circulate that. We can use that, have a discussion item of that. That sounds like a pretty full agenda.
Yeah, I just wanna add with the appointments, with my housing committee appointments, I'm just gonna be bringing a red line of, amendments to the original resolution that formed them, because
Oh.
we left like really unclear verbiage on terms in there, so I just wanted to be tighter, of a resolution before we do the appointments, so that I can actually stagger them this time and the whole committee isn't expiring.
Yeah. Okay,
Luckily, they all signed on again, but if they
great.
hadn't, I would have had a lot of work.
Yeah. And then we'll have code enforcement, and then our attorney, Mary Lou, attends the workshop meeting. So she typically, we've switched to her doing a written attorney update rather than giving an attorney update during the meeting, because a lot of it is confidential.
The park timeline. Just a quick discussion on it.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah.
if you said that or not for the agenda, just we'll have an update at least for idea of that. Right, 'cause
And we
that's
might
gonna
even
be
have a
the
bid
17th. Yeah, we might
prepared.
even have a bid prepared that we could vote on possibly,
Okay,
or an RFP.
all right, it's a lot of items.
Like,
You're gonna add
no
some more?
more.
I have a resolution I want the board to talk about. That might require a mandatory referendum for the supervisor term.
Okay,
So I sent that to Mary Lou, she had some feedback. So I'd like to at least start that discussion.
that's a local law.
Oh, it's,
Is that, okay,
Yes, the thing gets put on.
okay,
Does that have to be done in the election year that the term is up? I mean, it is this year anyway, but
It
there is
does-
like,
it
there
has
is
to be.
some legalities to that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll see, I haven't looked at Mary
Uh,
Lou's feedback yet, so I'll see, but
I might recuse myself from that. So you'll be, if I do that, you'll be able to chair the meeting for that portion.
yes.
Okay,
Does that mean we're too like loaded agenda to do like 10-15 minutes for Millennium Strategies to do a presentation?
what do you guys think? Do you want to prioritize a presentation for Millennium Strategies, or continue to just do an assessment of the grant opportunities that we've been looking at?
I'd like to explore, Millennium a little bit more first. I work with other grant, research platforms, so I just want to see like comparison, apples to apples before. Me personally, I don't want to invest in a presentation yet, because I want to do my own like research and, comparing, but I'm fine with it if the rest of the board so wants to. I'm happy to sit through one. I just, working in that world, have more than I want to take up your guys' time with questions for before.
Do you have other consultants that would be suitable for this kind of?
No, I don't work with, I'm a grant writer myself,
Okay.
so, I know fellow grant writers, I don't know any that do specific consultant work, we're all paid or pro bono ones, for nonprofits for the most part is what I know. But the actual searching database that you mentioned as part of it, there's just that's what I'm more curious that I want to do some backup research on than the actual consulting wise. I'm fine for a presentation, but as far as the research
I'll see if
component.
you'll give me like a behind the hoods peek at it.
Yeah, I just want to see like comparison, because there's a lot of the funds that we apply for, those heavier lift government ones that we're eligible for that would work for a lot of the projects that we need. And I've worked with the servicer I used to work with at my previous job had a lot of. It was more geared towards those federal and state, the heavier lifting ones than private funders, for a portion of it, so. Yeah, I just want to do a little comparison, but up to you guys.
Okay, so basically, the question on the table is do we want to use some of our time at our March workshop meeting to hear from Millennium Strategies, which has a platform, but they also do consulting. It's minimum of $5,000 just to access their database. Michael, you feel like it's
I'm not afraid of long meetings, but. You can also, if we delay it until April, I don't think it'll listen.
Zolly?
No opinion.
No opinion. The way that this works into some of our larger priorities is alternate funding streams. We do not have this fund, anything budgeted for this. So I am comfortable tabling until April, if you are comfortable with that. But I think we do want to prioritize this, and particularly once we get our bronze status, we will wanna hit the ground running, I think, with some of that, so. Do you think it's okay to take?
All right, I'll
until-
give you guys this one.
Okay, so we'll do this, we'll say April.
April,
Okay.
Regular meeting.
regular meeting April.
Is that what-
Did you happen to share the info on the last grant consultant we used for the Lexus? The one we used for the. Oh, for the bridges. What
Oh,
do we use? I
we,
can't
that's a,
Oh, yeah.
engineering firm, that's CT Mail.
No, but we had a grant writer specifically that. Remember, we went back and forth because it was 10,000 for both of them.
It was
or-
CT Mail.
Oh, was it CT?
Yeah,
Okay.
they prepare,
They
bridge
prepared.
they prepare infrastructure grant.
That's just the only time I remember us using a consultant.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just because that one is so technical,
Oh, yeah.
it's literally like the bridge design
Mhm.
is the application. They prepared that for us.
Yeah, I'm certified in grant writing and I would.
Yeah,
have written that.
but they got
I
them.
would.
They
I
got
would not have touched that.
all three of those.
They did, I'm highly
Did they do
impressed, because I was like, no.
And it's a lot of work.
Yeah, oh, well, when I heard the prices, that's why, like, also why I just wanna do a little research, cause. We paid almost the same price, I know it comes with like a hosting, or a search database feature, but. Honestly, we only paid like 5,000 for 3 Bridge New York grants, which are huge. Like, they're just like very detailed oriented, so I'm just, price wise too, I wanna, cause for procurement, we're gonna need at least. Or is it professional services? So it doesn't count.
Uh,
Oh, sorry.
it would be, we can do whatever we want, but professional services, you do not have to follow your procurement policy for bids.
Mhm.
So,
Gotcha, okay.
but sometimes we opt to do that because it's an opportunity to make sure we get the best.
Mhm.
I mean, I think it's good in as many instances so that we get the best value to be able to compare, but.
Yeah, that's how I feel like I don't care if we follow procurement for the consultant, but for the software, I'd like to have like another. Look at another option, just as I've used other ones.
Yeah.
Great.
Great, no, oh yeah, so that's we've got our agenda set. And then, so the executive session needs to be not for the appointment, but for the discipline. Of particular employees.
Do you want me to make a motion?
Sure.
Make a motion to enter into executive session at 9:49 PM. For discussion of matters leading to the discipline of particular persons.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Okay.
We made it.